All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome out to the playoffs. This is the round of 8, week number 2, taking on Texas 350 for the iRacing Virtual Cup Series. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Brandon Superman Brand Browning. How's it going tonight, Brandon?
Oh, it's going good, man. Excited to be here. Excited to see this Texas racing. I know I've said this quite a few weeks on the broadcast, but I'm absolutely terrible at this racetrack. So I'm hoping to learn some things while we broadcast tonight, Sean.
You know, I'm really excited about this race because this is likely the most important race of the entire season, because if you do well here, you can set yourself up for the championship round. If you don't do well here, well, you might just be going home after tonight.
Yeah, and honestly, this is probably the highlight of my playoffs for a lot of these drivers. And the reason that I say that, Sean, is because it's a mile and a half. Mostly in this current season of NASCAR and the way things are ran this season with the iVCS, it's mostly mile and a half tracks. You know, you're going to an oddball track next week in Martinsville. You do not want to be on the outside looking in next week. Chances are, I know we haven't had the highest car count as of late, but going into Martinsville, you do not want to put yourself in a hole trying to get out of it. So there is big emphasis on Texas, but only one driver can win at the end of the night.
Absolutely. So let's see who is in the contention tonight. So, of course, here's our playoff picture. We did have 16 drivers in the playoffs. Everybody's eliminated but these 8 guys. And so Timothy Latham, with his win last week, a very dominant win, by the way, he is automatically into the championship round, and now everybody else is chasing him.
Yeah, and honestly, arguably, not the best car on the racetrack last week. Oscar Jensen, in my opinion, had the best race car, especially on the long run. Got into a little bit of an incident with Zach York and kind of threw away both of their races. Actually, Oscar blew up off of 2 on the backstretch on the final lap of last week's race, kind of dropped his starting position. He came in last week, I think it was positive 34 points, and left out only positive 25. So I fully expect a rebound from Oscar Jensen. Now, some of these guys that I noticed down below the line, Benjamin D, Justin Boyles, they're obviously not all going to make it in, but they've had some pretty hot races, and I want to key in mostly on Justin Boyles, and the reason being is that he's had the hot hand at mile and a half. So he hasn't won a lot of them, winning only 2 mile and a halves, but typically, Sean, he runs pretty good, and he finds himself in 6th tonight.
Yeah, all 8 of these guys, really, there's not one that I would bet against. I know Kendall LeBron really has his back up against the wall right now, but he was the one that shocked us in week 1 of the playoffs, and he took the win, which got him into the round of 12. And so if he does that again tonight, you just never know.
Yeah, and that's the big key right now. He's almost put himself in a must-win situation. I'm showing roughly about 15, 20 cars right now in the race. So obviously he can catch, Genixman, Zach York. If they start off wrong, he can catch them slipping. He is slated at P3 right now. The bad news is, first Zach York, Oscar Jensen, Kendall LeBron, Timothy Latham, Genixman, Boyles, all at the top. Benjamin D's up there as well. I think about the lowest driver we have left currently is going to be Dakota Jorgensen, and even he's not totally at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great group of guys. Can't wait to see what happens tonight. But let's introduce everybody to these guys. Let's start off with the current points leader, which is Timothy Latham.
Yeah, and this guy's had, ironically, the hottest season that you could possibly have. I mean, if you look right there on the left side of your screen, you can see that we're running out of places to put wins for Timothy. And there's another driver that's pretty much matched what he's done. He qualified for the championship round last week at Kansas. Doesn't really have anything to worry about at Texas or Martinsville. I talked to Timothy earlier, and his words, he's going for wins. He's trying to sweep the round. So we'll see what he does in the playoffs here.
Yeah, last week he broke an 8-race winless streak, and the last time he had an 8-race winless streak, he broke it at Kansas also. And then what did he do the next 2 races after that?
And he won again, and that's what's scary is, if looking at the remaining races, right? You said that he had won back to back to back. He won 3 in a row the last time he won at Kansas. So if you go off of that, that puts him winning at Texas and Martinsville. And the last time we come to Phoenix, he led every single lap. No one else led a lap at Phoenix, so you're in the scary part of the season if you're anyone not Timothy Latham, because he's been strong. and he's been fast, but these are his way. Like, these fits right into his wheelhouse. If you look there at the bottom of this slide, you see right behind his name on the race car, and you see all the checkered flags. He is even running out of room. I think I talked to him about some of his paint schemes. He's had to move his name, Timothy Latham, further to the left to make all of the checkered flags fit accordingly. So a pretty good season so far for him.
A tough life for that guy, man. But let's talk about basically his biggest competition on the track right now, and that's Oscar Jensen.
I will say, in my opinion, you look down there, Timothy had outraced everyone before the playoffs, had 7 wins, coming into the playoffs. Oscar only had 4. Oscar busted out early. You see P there beside Richmond, Bristol, and Talladega. 3 playoff wins already. He's done everything he can to match Timothy Latham in this season win-wise, and I certainly think he's got the opportunity tonight at Texas. Unfortunately for some of these guys, again, Latham was the fastest, but Oscar, prior to an incident last time at Texas involving Timothy Latham, was a very fast race car as well.
Next up, we got Zach York. And so this guy had a really good race going last week. I know he got into a little bit of an incident with Oscar Jensen there towards the end. But this is one guy that could surprise you. He's better on short tracks than he is on these mile and a halves, but right now running some really good times tonight.
Yeah, and if you look there, I mean, it's kind of been a subpar playoffs for Zach York. Honestly, he's kept himself, I guess the way to say it was he's kept his head above water, Sean. He's survived to this point, and I don't know if he has the car. I know he's fastest right now. He hasn't had a lot of luck on mile and a halves, but going into next week at Martinsville, he has to be the odds-on favorite because, he's ran good at Bristol. He ran good at Dover, obviously winning both of those. Anytime there's a track shorter than a mile or shorter, Zach York finds his way to the front. So if by chance he can punch his ticket tonight, he can just go for wins and glory next week at Martinsville. The good news, this is the last track a mile and a half or longer. The next 2 tracks are going to be a mile or shorter, being Phoenix and Martinsville. So good tracks coming up for Zach York.
That's right. Now, next up, Mr. Clean and Mr. Consistency. And most of the time when you're clean, you're also consistent. So Chad Gunningsman, he goes with both of those.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few guys about, hey, who do you think's going to make your Final Four? Who's going to have a shot at the champion or at the championship? And, of course, we've heard, pretty much equal Oscar Jensen's and Timothy Latham's as far as winning the championship goes. But a name that comes up seemingly with everyone that you ask about it is Chad Gunningsman. And as of late, he doesn't have the win. However, a lot of people think he can win the championship, and if by chance he does without getting a win, he will do something that hasn't been done yet in the history of anywhere, really. I mean, when you look at NASCAR, which is much what they emulate, a non-race winning champion would be huge for Chad Gunningsman in the 9 car.
That's right. Now, Benjamin D., he's right there on the cusp of this. He is just on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah, and he really kind of caught his stride coming in. Daytona, he won the Daytona race, the regular season Daytona race, and that's really kind of carried him through the playoffs so far. Obviously, he's been in the shadows of a couple of guys, but nonetheless held his own and hung right there with them. I like Benjamin D a lot, and I think for some reason Texas feels like the 97 should be in victory lane. I don't know that he'll get there, but he does have 2 more chances to punch his ticket in. Right now on the outside looking in, and he's got to go big the next 2 races if he wants to race in Phoenix for a title.
Another guy that always goes big when you get to the mile and a half, and we talked about him a little bit earlier, Justin Boyles. And the big stat for you that I want to tell you is that 3 clean races and 2 wins. So if he can keep it clean here tonight at Texas, I see him in victory lane.
Yeah, and that's certainly hard to bet against. The league creator, the league owner, as you see there, obviously wants nothing other than to be a part of the championship four in his league's inaugural season, trying to go and get it out here with some of the best that iRacing has to offer. However, the plague for Justin Boyles, had this been a race where you didn't have to pit, Sean, he would be perfectly fine because we've seen Justin Boyles struggle getting onto and off of pit road. It's kind of what bit him in the butt, so to speak, last week, trying to get on pit road, had a mishap. Seen it a few times, and I even talked with Boyles, and he acknowledged his issues with pit road. So if he can stay clear of pit road here and have a successful one, he'll be fine.
Next up, Dakota Jorgensen. So a big fan favorite out there right now, then the number 24, but he's got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, he's not quite in a must-win now, but he's getting close, and he's kind of just been one of those silent drivers all season long. I know there are a lot of people pulling Ford Dakota to make the Final Four. We'll see if he can do it tonight at Texas.
And finally, we have Kendall LeBron, who, like I said, was the underdog coming in, but he has really surprised some people already this season. Let's see if he can surprise us again.
Yeah, and I need the big surprise from Kendall LeBron here. 33 points below the cut line, Sean. He's pretty much must win. I don't know that he can get it done with some of the guys that we have to offer at Martinsville, but with the car count, it's hard already to come out of a 33-point deficit. If he's going to do it, he has to find victory lane here at Texas. I don't think Martinsville is easy enough that he can come out of that.
We are going to find out shortly here as we're trying to get everybody gridded up right now. Thinking that we are having a few little technical issues out there on the track because I don't see the cars coming up. So Brandon, just give us 1 second here and we will get right back on that.
Yeah, I'm seeing, looks like they're sitting on pit road, so your camera may be skewed by them sitting on pit road. I know it has caused a little bit of an issue. We may have to wait until those cars start rolling before we'll be able to see them, Sean.
Well, let's talk about, I see those on pit road right now. We will check back in on that. So let's take a look and see what our starting grid looks like out there.
First place, we do have Chad Genningsman grabbing the pole with the 27.915. The guy we just talked about, Sean, starting second. Kendall LeBron, what a way to start it off in hopes to try to finish it there as well. Third place, Oscar Jensen in the 51 machine. And fourth place going to be Zach York in the 49.
In fifth place, you got Timothy Latham, our current leader in the championship standings. Then Justin Boyles in sixth, Benjamin D in seventh, Dakota Jorgensen in eighth.
Jason Tripp, we saw him have the fastest lap on the racetrack early last week, but due to some troubles, did not get a hold it out. He's going to qualify ninth. Teammate of his, Danny Dow, in 10th place. PJ Engelken's 11th. And Greg Edney rounds out the top 12 with the 12th place starting position.
All right, Brandon, let's get out there on the track as they're coming around in their formation lap here. And once again, we got 235 laps to do this. Now, the first stage is 75 laps. And so after 75 laps, we'll have a competition caution. Everybody will kind of reset, do it all again for 75 more laps, and then we go into the final home stretch for a nice 85 lapper to take us all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I just noticed there, I'm going to go ahead and wait until after the green flag to talk picks, but the bad news for some of these guys, the Black Kiss car has made its return for Justin Boyles back there. He's running it again, but as we come off of turn 4, Sean, the pace car makes its way down pit road, relinquishing the control to Chad Genningsman, who's waiting and gone to take us green flag racing in the Taking on Texas 350, the second race of the round of 8 in the iVCS championship playoff.
Chad got a great jump on everybody. He takes off, and he is going to get out a little bit of a distance away. Let's talk about our picks here really quick. Brandon, who you got?
I've got the guy who's been trying to equalize and keep it even all season. You see him there in the black and purple 51 Ford Mustang. I'm taking Oscar Jensen.
You know what? I've been watching them practice all night long tonight, and Zach York had that puppy dialed in during practice. So I'm going to take a swing, and I'm going to go Zach York tonight.
Something feels right about Timothy Latham having 8 wins and Oscar Jensen having only 7. So, realistically, Sean, we could talk all night about the fact that, Genningsman's been fast and just hasn't found it. Oscar's been trying to equalize Timothy. Justin Boyles is, unbeaten in the Black Kiss car still yet. Zach York's had it dialed in all night. Timothy Latham has no stress to win. Honestly, the only way to find out is to hang out with Speed Racing Network for the remainder of these 235 laps, and we'll see what happens.
Well, Oscar Jensen takes the lead away from Chad Genningsman, and he is going to try to pull away a little bit. Take a look at third place. That's Kendall LeBron right now sitting 8th in the playoff point standings. He needs a great race tonight.
Yeah, and he's put himself among greatness here at the beginning. The top drivers all in the front of the line right now. You see all championship contenders remaining through about the first 6 or 7. Actually, I think the top 8, all 8 playoff drivers, Sean, 1 through 8 right now, separating themselves back to Daniel Dow, PJ Engelkens, Jordan Sailors, and the rest of the field. But, you know, if you want to remain a player, you've got to be at the front, and Kendall LeBron has done what he needed to put that car at the front right now.
You already said it. All 8 playoff drivers are in this front pack of 8, and then there's already about a second behind them to get to the next pack. And so that just shows cream rises to the top, and here they are, your playoff drivers.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, when you look at it, when you look at the guys above the cut line right now in the front 5, only 2 actually... Yeah, only 2 of the front 5, I do believe, are...
And you have Timothy Latham as well. You got Timothy Latham as well. So Oscar Jensen, Chad Genixman, and Timothy Latham, 3 of your top 4 are also 3 of the top 4 on the track as well.
Okay. And then you're back a little bit ways to, I think, what the final spot goes to. Zach York currently. I think he's actually in maybe the 3rd spot ahead of Genixman. But,
correct, yeah.
You know, just racing, if they were to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter who wins it. It's just a hard cut for the 4 guys below the line. Obviously, you know, if you're Kendall LeBron, Justin Boyles, the guys below the cut line, when you see, you know, these above the cut line drivers, the only one you can really pull for at this point is the guy that drives the pink and black number 5 down there on the bottom. You got to hope Timothy goes back to back, right, Sean?
That's absolutely correct. So if Timothy goes back to back, oh, we got Chad Genixman. He got a little bit loose there. I saw a little bit of smoke coming out.
Yeah, he was completely sideways off the floor, and that's what I wanted to get in. You know, obviously we'll get back to the conversation about Timothy going back to back, but this track there, you know, you see, Sean, let's actually ride along with Chad Genixman in the 9 car here. The line he's running, I think, is perfect. Right now he's in turns 3 and 4, so we'll start this line at the start-finish line. This has just been my personal experience in Texas. You guys maybe have a little bit more of the car sounds than I have right now, but as we get down into turn 1, you see Genixman not really going all the way to the bottom where some of the guys are. He's going to get a little bit of a run, but right about here, the car just seems sluggish. Down the backstretch, he's going to get a big run, obviously in Timothy's draft, and he's going to send that car right on the bottom. What we saw before, just out in the corner of the shot, just what Timothy did right there, just barely clipped the apron. And it kind of has one of 2 effects, Sean. It either sends you sideways, much like we saw Chad do the last time around, or it does what it did to Timothy and just shoots you up the racetrack. So that's what's going to happen a lot to these guys. Turn 1's kind of a tough turn to get down into. You really don't have to worry about anything but being sluggish through 1 and 2. But down in 3 and 4, where you get right down to that line, one of 2 things can and will happen here. And it's either you're going up the racetrack or you're going sideways.
So Oscar Jensen has broken away, and so he is about 0.7 of a second ahead of everybody else, and then the other 7 are all stacked up together right behind him.
Yeah, and right now he's loving what he's seeing in his mirror. You know, he's just seeing guys that don't really matter to him right now. The only thing that matters to Oscar Jensen is the clean, open racetrack out front. The one guy that's solely in his mirror right now, if he was to beat Oscar doesn't even mind. It's not going to eliminate him from the playoffs. It's just going to allow him another point spot into the Final 4. So if anyone comfortable behind Oscar right now can be that 5 car, I will say the guy behind Timothy Latham, Kendall LeBron, is the last guy Oscar Jensen wants to see in his mirror right now, because if somehow, some way, Kendall LeBron punches his ticket into victory lane, that means that's the bottom driver. 8th place punches his way in, and it leaves everyone in the middle battling for 2 spots next week at Martinsville.
Yeah, you got to think about this. If there are 3 separate winners, 3 different winners, there's only 1 point spot available. And right now that belongs to Oscar Jensen. However, we would lose a driver. If it wasn't Zach York winning one of those races, we would lose one of the best drivers in the league just under that thing. Justin Boyle, same thing. Dakota Jorgensen, Benjamin D, all these guys have the same issue. Tonight is the night that you have to put it together to either make a run on points or go for the win.
Yeah, and honestly, to kind of, put that into perspective, right now coming into Texas, let's say Oscar Jensen is positive 25, okay? So for you viewers out there tuning in, and, the guys that watch this back, let's say Oscar has a little bit of a rough one tonight, and after being second place driver essentially at worst all season long, he has a bad night and he falls back, and Zach York gets ahead of him in points because Zach's only 14 behind him. So then we'll say Benjamin D goes to victory lane tonight. We see Kendall LeBron go to victory lane at Martinsville. That means Oscar Jensen, with 7 wins, will not be in the final round. So very much on the line still yet for anyone in this field not named, again, Timothy Latham, who's already punched his way in. He will race for the championship of the Season 1 of the iVCS and the $235 first place prize. So still Oscar, you see him out front. A lot of guys I know I've heard say, hey, Oscar just needs a good finish. A good finish could still come back and bite Oscar Jensen if he or Timothy do not go to victory lane here, because it could be huge if he didn't make that final round.
Yeah, but let's look at it the other way, Brandon. So what happens if Oscar has just a bad race? What happens if somehow, some way, he ends up in last place in this race tonight? That 25-point lead is done.
Yeah, and honestly, that's all it takes. You know, right now he's in the safest spot he can be, with him holding about a 0.5 of a second, 4 or 5 tenths of a second lead over Latham. The only one that can screw over Oscar Jensen right now is Oscar Jensen. As long as he don't clip the apron, get into that wall, do something silly, he's fine. However, if by chance he, goes out and he wins this stage, that's 10 points for him. Right now, the guy behind him, Timothy Latham, he's not worried about Timothy. Timothy's going to get 9 points. The guy behind him, Dakota Jorgensen, he's below the cut line, so Sean is really, not worried about Dakota right now. The guys that he's most importantly worried about are everyone below him not winning the race, and the guys on points like Zach York, Chad Ginnigsman, the 2 closest to him. So if he surrenders this lead to one of these 2 guys ahead of him, he's really honestly just racing the 49 of Zach York and the 9 car of Chad Ginnigsman right now. Those are the 2 closest to him. If he were, to go back and decide, hey, if I don't win this race, I've got to race points smart. Right now, the 2 closest to him are 49 and the 9. So that's the way I'm looking at it if I'm Oscar. If Timothy races up there and passes him, so be it. Timothy can score 66 points here for all I care. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change my ability to run for a championship or anything like that.
All right, well, while these guys up here are getting a little bit spaced out, now Timothy is reeling in Oscar Jensen. We'll actually stick with it just for a couple more laps here, but then we're going to go back towards the back of the pack. We're going to introduce you guys to everybody that's not in the playoffs. I know out there in the chat right now we have Dana Marie Chambers going for Ted Pullen. Ted Pullen's biggest fan, number 54. And Ms. Dana Marie, we will show you exactly where he's at here in just a few moments. We just want to see if Timothy Latham can complete this pass or not.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, I think it would be a little bit crazy of Oscar to race with Timothy here. Timothy can put the pressure on. If they both wreck, what's going to happen? Nothing to Timothy Latham, John. He'll be there no matter what. He could finish last here. Honestly, he could park the car right now. It does not matter to Timothy. Timothy's here for the glory and satisfaction of knowing he beat these other guys. These 7 other playoff drivers, he wants to beat them into the dirt and win every race if he can, because outside of watching the broadcast back and hearing us say his name 1,001 times, what is he racing for? He's already there. He's going to Phoenix. It doesn't matter. And Oscar would be a little bit silly to race him. Now, I know there is a certain driver on the track that Timothy wants to help get into the final race, and we'll see if some of the other guys join the broadcast to watch alongside, for their 2 drivers. If I'm not mistaken, and I'll have to clarify with Timothy later, both Timothy Latham and Dakota Jorgensen race for Race Tech Esports. I don't think I butchered that name. I think that's exactly. I know they race for Travis Manning, so he wants to pull, above all else, he wants to pull that 24 car along with him into the championship race and well represent Race Tech Esports and Travis Manning and all those guys. So new team for Timothy Latham outside of here. Of course, he is still a member of Flashpoint inside of the iVCS, but we'll see what he can get done, see if he can help Dakota get there.
Well, let's go back for a little bit. Let's check out some of these other guys. So we got Jordan Sailors up here in the number 55 car, and you see it there in the black and white. Right behind him, Tim Hendry in the 07 car. And then fan favorite, Ted Pullen. So there you go, Miss Dana Marie Chambers. There is your boy, Ted Pullen, in the number 54 Pepsi car. Then we got a few others. So we got Greg Edney back here in the solid white car. Then we got Danny Dow in the number 2 car there. PJ Engelkins in the Gatorade Zero car. And then Jason Tripp right now bringing up the rear in the Team SRN car.
Yeah, and I think, we saw a little bit of contact between Justin Boyles and Kendall LeBron. Got a little bit hairy there in 1 and 2 where Kendall got into the back just ever so slightly at Justin Boyles. I don't think he caused any damage to either race car, but got Boyles sideways. Boyles starting to fight the handling of that number 8 machine. It's starting to go away. So that's going to be big. He's got to get up there. He's got to race with Benjamin D. He's got, I think actually Benjamin D, I believe right now, is currently behind him, but he's got to race with Kendall LeBron. He's got to race with especially Dakota Jorgensen, who right now is running off and leaving him as he follows Timothy and Oscar at the front. But not the race so far, Sean, that Justin Boyles has been hoping for.
Well, I mean, again, just keep in mind that tires are always important on these 1.5 mile long tracks, and that's what these guys are fighting against right now is tires. So as these tires start to go away, it's going to be harder and harder to control that car, and once it becomes really difficult to control that car, you got to come in and get some new tires. It has to be done.
Well, let's take a look real quick. I know we haven't really said much about him tonight, Sean. Let's take a look at the 4th place machine there. I've kind of got him on my ones to watch, and the reason I say that is because you said you'd watched a lot of the practice. You felt comfortable in picking Zach York in the 49 machine. He's not really pushing the issue, Sean. I think he expects this race to be green for a long time. He's not fighting with the front 3. He He's not slow enough to fall back to the three behind him. Zach York's just running his own race here. So maybe, just maybe, he's waiting. You know, a couple of cautions, long runs. That 49 car will then come to the front. He's in no hurry right now, just trying to survive and have a shot at the win here at Texas. Yeah, and we're kind of doing the math on this. So basically, you can go about 37 laps on fuel and tires here. That's if you stretch it. And we're already seeing PJ Engelkins down there on the bottom. It looks like, not sure if he's trying to pit or if he's, oh no, he already pitted. Sorry, he already pitted. He pitted on lap 26. And so you can go about 37 laps if you're saving those tires and saving that fuel. And so that would mean that you still have to take 6 pit stops throughout the race. And so, you know, once you do the math on it and stuff like that, sometimes you can stretch that to just 5 pit stops for the entire race. But, you know, we'll have to find out. Yeah, and I just looked back to the chat, saw Dana Marie Chambers out there pulling for Ted Pullen. No pun intended. Said, you'll catch a Pepsi in our hands. So I'm not sure if you can hear this, but that one's for you, Dana. I opened one as well. It is a Pepsi. We have verified that. Yes, it is 100% Pepsi. I wanted to join Ted and Dana in continuing to support for Ted Pullen, and I'll have a Pepsi with you. Just pulled it out of the refrigerator behind me. So hopefully we still see Ted march back up through the field and, you know, challenge for this win. Maybe he's playing the long game. Maybe a little bit of strategy in mind. I do want to go back to a moment ago, Sean, before we were talking about the Pepsi, you know, about the tires, pit stops. I will say that Kendall LeBron did tag the wall a little bit, racing on the outside of Justin Boyles. So we'll keep that in mind as he continues to fade now, has almost faded back to Benjamin D for position. So another driver, as you touched on it before, PJ Engelkins got new tires. So as he continues to race up through the field here, he's currently at, I think it's 6th place. Yeah, 6th place Justin Boyles racing through the field. You'll see the difference in the speed where, you know, Boyles, Koenigsmann, and York were all much faster than PJ early. Right now, PJ's hanging with them, maybe a little bit faster than those cars. He's actually trying not to get into their way. Oh, there might be contact. A little bit close out there, especially this early in the race. But, man, everybody wants every position they can possibly get. These top 8 have broken away by 6 seconds over 9th place. And so the top 8, all of them inside the playoffs, these guys are not letting up an inch. Yeah, and you know, I have to give one thing race-wise. Zach York didn't really, you know, I heard Chad Koenigsmann on the radio say, hey, I can only lift so much. Zach York didn't really do anything wrong there, Sean. It's a little bit early to do it, but he just kind of moved his race car down the track, told Chad Genningsman, okay, if you're going to take the inside, keep it on the inside. And, actually, Zach York, Timothy Latham coming to pit road right now, but what I wanted to touch on while they are coming down to pit road, I think Justin Boyle said he was coming as well. He is actually on pit road as well, so it's only those three. But, Zach York has kind of put himself in a box here as of late, Sean, where he's not out for anyone. He's out for just Zach York, and, he's making all the right moves, where right now it seems like...
Oscar trying to get to pit road.
I hope he got that car slowed down, because... who knows? It may be a battle to try to battle back out of that. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't see it pit this time. We may have the Pepsi car in about a lap taking the lead. So we'll see just what cycles through. I see Jorgensen's still out there. I think Genningsman's still out. We'll see if Ted Pullen goes and leads one here, or if he brings him to pit road. Actually, Jorgensen's not coming now. But as I was saying, Zach York has kind of put himself in a box where he's not really concerned about anyone else, Sean. Like, he's just doing him. He's putting these moves on early in the race, racing for 4th position, in case later in the race that really mattered, right? Like, I know it's only lap 35, 34, but, if he allows the 9 car past him, he may not get back by him before the end of the race. So Zach York, taking no chances and trying to advance to the championship 4. We do see Dakota Jorgensen now bringing his vehicle down pit road. Chad Genningsman remains on the racetrack, and it looks like same for Ted Pullen, Jordan Sailors, and Greg Edney, I believe, all also have not pitted. Danny Dow hasn't pitted as of yet. Jason Tripp. So the back half of the field still yet to pit. Of course, Dakota Jorgensen, you see him falling the standing. That is because he's currently on pit road. I heard some drivers just now. It wasn't Genningsman. I think Ted Pullen actually keyed up and said he was coming to pit road this time. So starting to cycle fully through, Sean.
Wow, so Gennings's been really stretching this fuel out. And so if he can take this 40 laps, which is basically what he's doing right now, if he can continuously do that throughout the race and this race stays green, he can get by on 5 pit stops.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting ready to say as soon as you started into your conversation about him right now. Last week, I will tell you that he took a set to the truck with him. Both he and Justin Boyles took a set home with him that they didn't get to use. So I fully expect Genningsman to do the same, hoping that the race is a late caution at the very end. But let's check in with the 49 car right now and the 24, Sean, on the racetrack if possible. You saw the big gap the 5:51 and the 24 had. Well, now, because of the pit cycle and because Jorgensen stayed out a few more laps, he's currently behind Zach York. So those just few laps that Jorgensen stayed out longer than Zach York, you see the difference there. It was a big gap back to the front 3, but now Zach York holds the position for the time being.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on Chad Genningsman because he still has not pitted, and he is on his way to lap 41 at this point. Oh, it looks like he's slowing down now, so I believe he's coming in. So around lap 41, so he really, really stretched that out. If he can keep doing that and this thing stays green, then Chad Genningsman is going to play a really good trump card there.
Yeah, and I was trying to do the math real quick in my head, Sean. I think he needed a few more if possible, because we'll look at 40 because he completed 41. Well, actually, we'll go with 41. That's 41, and this is barring any stages or cautions like that. If we stayed green the whole race, 41, 82, 123, what would that? 164. Then it would be 205, and then that would be his last pit stop. So he's almost close to eliminating a pit stop, like another pit stop. But had he ran 5-6 more laps, he could have eliminated maybe 2 of them, Sean.
Well, I think he may have run that thing out of fuel because 27 or 37 laps is what we were told is kind of the high end. And he took it 41, so not sure he could have squeezed out 5 more laps out of it. But let's see how this thing goes, because again, we do have a competition caution coming up on lap 75, and so that might bode very well for him in the long term. but short term it might put him a little bit behind.
Theoretically, just thinking, these guys pitted on, let me check my scoring real quick.
I've got lap 30, 34 for some of them, 35 for Oscar Jensen, and 37 for Jorgensen.
34 to 35, which means they can all go the distance, right? Like they can go 2 laps 75 from here. However, by pitting on lap, what did he pit on? Third, I've lost him on my scoring.
Who's that?
Gennigsen pitted on 41.
41, yes.
So he has 6 laps newer tires than they do. So with that, easy math, if you will, and that's granted that they all took tires. Looking at the pit times, it looks like they all did. Actually, Jason Tripp actually took tires and then some. He had a little bit of damage to repair, but assuming that they all took tires, his are 6 laps newer. Even if it's 6 more laps, we'll say 3/10 in 6 laps. It's going to play big because actually, if possible, Sean, let's jump and ride with Daniel Dow right now. If possible, he's right there with the 5 car. Now, Dow was in the back part of this pack where he was, no disrespect to him, but he was nowhere near as fast as the 5 and the 51. 2, it didn't play. He pitted on lap 39, so 2 laps before Chad did. And you can see now with the draft and those new tires, he's able to hang with our 2 leaders, Oscar Jensen and Timothy Latham. So obviously, even though that setup's not as dialed in as the 5 and the 51, the newer tires, probably about 5 laps newer tires for him, or 5 or 4, as well as the draft, that he's right there. So that could actually be huge for the 9 car of Chad Gennigsen.
Well, and Timothy Latham is exactly where he wants to be right now. The longer he stays in that draft of Oscar Jensen, the more fuel he saves. And while he's saving that fuel, keep in mind, we have a caution on lap 45. And so Timothy Latham pitted on lap 34, which will only get him technically to lap 68 if he pits, the same frequency. So he might have to pit all over again unless he can stretch it to 41 laps, just like Chad did.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting ready to say as well. Assuming that Chad ran it completely out of fuel, like Chad left nothing in the tank, maybe 0.2 gallons, 0.3 gallons. You see there, he went to 41. It doesn't matter now. Chad's not pitting again this stage. I will say, just looking, Boyles 34, York 34, Latham 34. Those guys I kind of have on that. I don't know. That part of the scale, actually. Latham really far up the racetrack here. It'll be wide, allowing, I think, Daniel Dow, maybe Jordan Saylor. Ooh, I thought Saylor was going to peek his nose underneath that 5 machine. Now Timothy, what he's doing, he knows he's close. Oscar couldn't quite get to his back bumper. He knows he's faster than Daniel Dow. The closest he can stay to Dow without getting into him is the more fuel that he'll save by sharing air. Now he's going to come back down. Even though he's racing side by side with Dow, he's in Oscar's draft. But just looking at the rest of those pit stop strategies, some of those guys are going to be close on the bubble. Obviously, Chad Gennigsen is good to go. I think Jorgensen will be good to go. And the reason I say that, I think he stayed out till 37 by design. I think he knew he was going to be too close and didn't want to be. Obviously needs as many stage points as he can. So hopefully, unfortunately for him right now, I think he's got about a 3-second lead on Gennigsen. So that'll be big as long as Gennigsen doesn't close in. But that'll be your race for the stage here in about 25 laps.
Well, the big thing that everyone out there needs to understand is this is all about knowing your car. This is all about practice and knowing exactly what your car can do. And so if you think these guys just show up on Friday night and jump in that car for the first time and run around the track a few times, that is grossly incorrect. These guys work all week long in order to get to know exactly what their car will do, so that when we get into this type of a fuel mileage situation, they know exactly how much they need to get the rest of the distance.
Yeah, and it's all it's all a little bit crazy when you think about things like this. So let's for example, let's say let's talk setup wise, right? We came to Kansas in the iRacing Virtual Cup Series qualifier series, where the setup at Kansas that we brought as SRN, which was myself, Daniel Bowler, Daniel Dow, and Tom Crothers, the setup that we brought it better suited myself versus Bowdler. I had a better finish there than Bowdler. In another series that we broadcast, now I get that it's another series and another car, but the current setup for the Xfinity Series on Tuesday night, Bowdler blew me away. I didn't even get close enough to Bowdler to tell you what paint scheme he was running. So just by him running more laps than me and being comfortable in that setup, he destroyed me. He knew when he needed to pit. He knew when he needed tires. He knew everything about the car. And myself, someone who's not technically running as a driver in Mid-South Madness, I had no clue. So these guys such as, Chad Genningsman, Oscar Jensen, obviously he feels he can make it, Dakota Jorgensen, they've worked with their sets. They don't care what Oscar's car can do. They don't care what Tim's car can do. If you're Dakota Jorgensen, you're worried about what your car can do. And by having that knowledge, even though, like I was talking about with me and Bowdler, even though we ran the same exact setup, Sean, he blew my doors off because he had practiced that set. He knew what that car could do on a short run, on a medium run, on a long run. He knew when he needed tires. He knew when he needed fuel. And that just goes into it. You don't necessarily have to have the best car. As long as you know what your car is going to do, you can make things happen with it. As Dale Earnhardt Sr. always said, fastest car doesn't always win. You can beat the car just by wanting it more. So we'll see what happens.
You can see up on your screen, we've got the track map up there. Only the playoff drivers are showing up there. And so you can see right now we're keyed in on Justin Boyles and Kendall LeBron. But you can also see how far up front the number 51 and the number 5 are on the left side of the track there. Those are your leaders. So that is Oscar Jensen and Timothy Latham. And so these guys are more than half a lap behind the leaders. So that is just how good Oscar Jensen and Timothy Latham are right now.
Well, and I wanted to talk about one thing, and I love these guys. They're my teammates in Team SRN, but if you look right here, the bad news, can we by chance pull that track map back up for just 1 second, Sean? The bad news for these guys, you see the 9 crossing the start-finish line. He's there with the 24, the 49. The bad news is 5 and the 51 are having to race so hard with some of these guys fighting to stay on the lead lap. Jordan Sailors right now, he's back in about 13th position. He's 1 lap down. He's racing these 2 guys up here like a dog, like he's racing for the championship. And they're still that far ahead of Genningsman, who's back to the next playoff driver. So, that really goes to show how the 5 and the 51 are prepared for this, because the 5 and the 51, rather, that 55, giving them all he can give, helping out the 9, the 24, the 49. And they're just so far behind, Sean, that nothing's working for them, and they're catching more lap traffic. They're still pulling away, still opening up that gap. So we'll see, hopefully some of these guys from third on back can change some setup things around, or this is going to be the Latham Jensen show by the end of this.
Well, it's pretty much been that way the entire season, but right now Chad Gunningsman, who is in 3rd place, you can see the number 9 there on the left side of the track. So that distance from him to the green car, that's Timothy Latham, is about 6 seconds. And so a lot of time that he has to make up for this, but he's going to get a little break here in about 15 laps because we will have that competition caution for the stage.
Well, I will say I want to tune back to the chat where Daniel Powler, we just talking about him, bailed me out. Daniel, I want to thank you for that, because I had that exact quote in my head, and when I went to say it on the broadcast, it went away. The quote I was looking for, the winner isn't always the one with the fastest car, it's the one who refuses to lose, which in the roundabout was what I was saying, Sean, but it didn't come out the way I needed it to, so thank you for that, Daniel. I totally lost it. I had forgotten my words. I forgot my English and couldn't remember it. I thought about it before it came out of my mouth, but it's not what came out of my mouth. So thank you for that. Obviously, giving kudos to you for beating the dog crap out of me on Tuesday night. Oh, Timothy! Whew! I thought he was going to tag that outside wall there, but it's, these guys right now are in a league of their own. They're about 7 seconds ahead for Oscar in 3rd place. 6/10 up on Timothy. Timothy's been able to get to the back bumper, but really once he gets there, Sean, the handling goes away on that race car. He just can't find the bite he needs. And now as Oscar comes up on Greg Edney, Ted Pullen, and I'm not sure. I think that might be PJ ahead of them. Not sure who that is up there. But anyways, as he comes up on these cars, this is the one shot that Timothy has here as we're closing in, about 13, 12 laps to go at the end of the stage. This is Timothy's one shot to try to close that gap back up. This lap traffic, they're on the lead lap. They know they've only got about 11, 12 laps to go. They don't want to go lap down. So if they can fight Oscar, they're going to, but it looks like Timothy's continuing to fade as Oscar tries to start dealing with those guys. So we'll see. Oscar obviously has a pretty strong car, and it could be like you said, you know, Timothy could be really close on fuel based on what his car could do. I did see that time by that someone very much shortcut the racetrack a couple laps ago, because that hasn't been there for a while. But we're winding down on stage one, Sean.
Definitely. We'll pull back up that pit strategy right now. And so you can see how many laps these guys are going. Timothy Latham has gone 30 laps on this fuel and these tires already. And so the question is, can he stretch it to lap 75? And, you know, the best person out there right now with stretching fuel and tires was Chad Genningsman with 41 laps. And Latham is going to have that type of a stretch in order to make it.
Yeah, that almost looked like at that point, you know, Chad had started clutching, backing up his corners, just seeing how far he could push it. I don't think Timothy Latham is right now this much slower than Oscar. I think that's exactly what Timothy's done. He went back 1.1 seconds in about 3 laps of Oscar. He's still riding around, not really pushing the issue on these lap cars. I think he's just trying to save enough fuel to make it to the stage. I think right now, you know, I'm actually going to tune in. I'm going to allow you to take over for just a second, because I'm going to listen to the difference between him and, you know, him right now and what he was doing in the cockpit, and just see real quick, Sean, what he's doing to save fuel. While
you do that, I'll fill in everybody on this. So this is for the lucky dog. This is Ted Pullen and Greg Edney. So Edney in the number 30, Ted Pullen in the number 54. So when we get to that competition caution, one of those two is going to be able to get their lap back. It's whoever's in front of the other right now. I'll check and see if Oscar Jensen has caught anyone else or is catching anyone else, and he is. He's starting to catch up to Tim Hendry, so we'll see if he passes him. If that is the case, then Tim Hendry will take that lucky dog. So we'll see what happens here in the next 7 laps or so, if he can catch Tim or not. If he cannot, then that Greg Eddy, Ted Pullen competition back there, which is the closest on the track right now, is going to become very, very interesting.
Yeah, and just watched, and so just speaking, now it looks like Timothy may have green-lighted himself on making it on fuel. There for a couple laps, Oscar we get to about 8,500 RPMs at the end of the corner. Pretty much hammered down here in the, you know, this stint. Timothy was only getting about, you know, 8,100, 8,000, so obviously not quite fully on the throttle versus what Oscar was doing. So maybe some concern in the 5 camp whether or not he can quite make it. I know, you know, he's still continuing to fall back a little bit. Nowhere near in danger of falling back to 3rd or anything like that. Just kind of taking it a little bit slow, saving a little bit of fuel, and just trying to rope in this stage here. Not really, you know, I can't think of anything Timothy's racing for aside from the win. You know, these stage win's not going to help him out points-wise. He's already in the next round. You know, finishing 2nd in the stage can only hurt the guys around him. You know, maybe if he gets like a 2nd place finish, or if he can take the win, he can basically kind of control whether or not his teammates make it. But as he gets down there, as they got down into turn 1 and 2, Sean, I saw that PJ Eagleton's made his way back to pit road again. He was leaving pit road, and if you remember back to the last, you know, round of green flag pit stops, BJ kind of kicked that off, so that must mean we're within that window here. We'll see who can make it about 4 more laps and who can't.
So 3 more laps until we get to that stage cutoff. And again, going to be very interesting because everything that we've seen has said about 35 to 37 laps on fuel. So these guys had to be in fuel conservation mode in order to get to that 41 laps that they're going to need. And you can see those times, Latham is falling off even still.
Yeah, I think he's running about 3/4 throttle just by the sounds of it through the corners. He's saving all he can save, and I fully expect that once this stage is over, I look for him to instantly either clutch that car, just push the clutch in and let it coast, or turn it straight off and save the fuel that he can, because I think he's a lot closer than we anticipated, Sean. And honestly, the bad news is if he saved enough fuel, Oscar has such a big lead that even if he didn't, by the time Timothy catches him, it's not going to matter. So we'll see what happens here. 2 to go that time by on the stage, according to the man in charge, Justin Boyles.
Well, the other thing you got to remember here is it's not just getting to that lap 75. It is also getting back to the pits after that lap. So you still have to have enough fuel to get there. So if you run out of fuel right there at the start-finish line of this stage, you're going to be in some serious trouble. You can't make it a lap here on no fuel.
Well, the bad news, again, as I said, right now they're essentially taking the white flag, or Oscar is. So he's got to come around one time, finish the stage, and then 1 to 2 more times. Well, actually, I guess it's over there. I don't know. No, it's not over yet, and I will tell you that Timothy Latham in 1 and 2 shut that race car completely down, turned the throttle off, and let it coast. We'll see if he does the same. Didn't do it that time through 3 and 4, but in 1 and 2, he turned it completely off, Sean. So, really worrisome. They've still got, actually, he's off now, or the clutch is in. You see the RPMs drop down, actually, to about 2,000, bouncing back and forth. He's holding it a long way. The stage is over, so he's not going to lose a spot, but very, very close on fuel for that 5-car.
We're going to see if he can make it back to the start-finish line. They still have to catch up to the pit or to the pace car before the caution will allow them to get into the pits. So he still might have another 2 laps to go with this thing.
Yeah, he's actually going to have exactly that, because next time by, the leader should catch up. They may allow him to pit next time by. He's obviously, clutch is pushed in again here, saving all he can save. However, you know, he's still got a lap or so more.
We're just keeping an eye on this, because this does not sound good. He shut the car completely off now.
He is out of fuel now. He's down to 300 RPMs. Okay, he did get it refired. I was going to say, when it starts going down to 300 RPMs, that's not good. So
no, and you can hear it
completely off.
You can hear it when he tries to rev it back up. It does not have anything left. This is going to be really bad for Timothy.
Pits are open now, though, so all he's got to do, save enough to coast.
I'm not sure the pits were open there, Brandon, because I saw a red light there at the entranceway, so I'm not sure the pits were open.
Yeah, I'm not sure as well.
I could be wrong.
I see some cars still out. I don't see any of the leaders still out, so maybe. Yeah, I do see everyone behind him there now, so.
They must have just snuck it in, because I thought I saw a red light there. That was
it had to be close,
weird.
John. It had to be close.
But this will give everybody a reprieve that is still on the lead lap. So Oscar Jensen will come right back out front once again. And trying to check down in the chat right now. Oscar is not in the chat tonight. And as he's not most of the other nights, he is a one-man team. And so a lot of times he will not be in the chat room because there's nobody to chat with. So not really a big deal there. All right, well, let's go back. And let's talk a little bit with Timothy Latham if we can. Let's see if we can drag him in and find out what is going on with Mr. Timothy Latham tonight. Timothy, Sean, and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, man?
It's going good.
Buddy, that cut it awfully close. How much fuel did you have left there?
0.08 gallons when I came in the pit.
We were wondering. We heard you shutting it down, turn it on, turn it off, all that stuff, and we were kind of worried about you there. But so now that you know what your car can do in a long run, what does that mean the rest of the way?
I feel like we have a car that can compete with Oscar. We just had some battles with lap traffic there, and every time I get close to him, that dirty air just makes you so tight, just wears out the tires. So I feel like whoever's got the clean air is going to prevail here, so hopefully we can get out in front of him on this restart.
Man, that's awesome. We are absolutely loving that paint scheme tonight. I know you like to switch those up just about every single week, so you can definitely advertise for your sponsors out there. So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you chatting with us, but we're going to let you go get ready for another 75-lap stint.
All right. Alrighty, appreciate it, guys.
All right, man. Have a great night.
Too.
All right, we are going to drop him right back down into his chat there. And once again, Oscar Jensen with a great win there on the on that stage. So that will give him 10 points going forward for his points championship race there. So that just sets him apart a little bit further than everybody else. While we have time, we will pull up those point standings one more time here, so everybody can kind of see. And now, again, this is before that stage happened. So Timothy Latham already, he's solidly in. He's sitting in second place on the track right now. Oscar Jensen with an additional 10 points. So now he has stretched that lead. So right now he's looking pretty solid. Zach York on that stint, I believe he took 5th position in that stint. So he'll get a few bonus points there, but all these other guys in the top 8, all of them finished in the top 8. So nobody really separated themselves from the pack overall, with the exception of Oscar Jensen getting those 10 bonus points and maybe separating themselves a little bit from Zach York and Chad Gunningsman there towards the end. So definitely, it's still a lot of racing to go. We will see what happens here in the second stage. Again, 75 laps for this second stage, so it will end on lap 150. So technically, we've got 70 laps now. So, and these caution laps will definitely help everyone, because that last green flag stretch was no cautions during that first 75 laps. So people had to really stretch that fuel. So these caution laps are going to help them in this second stint, to where they might not have to stretch the fuel as much. So we might see a little bit more racing towards the end.
Well, you know, I do apologize. I had to step away for just a moment, Sean, but I'm seeing right now, under pace, laps even, Timothy Latham, clutch pushed in, 300 RPMs, just got a full tank of fuel, under caution, and still saving fuel, Sean. So we'll see how long he plans to stretch it here, but get us going for stage 2.
Yeah, man. So the pace car is going to dive off right now. Oscar Jensen gets the green flag, and he can start at any moment. He is waiting, still waiting, trying to lull him to sleep. And now we got a green flag. Timothy Latham got an excellent jump there. I think Oscar Jensen lulled himself to sleep. So Timothy Latham on the outside, going to try to make a move. But the inside track is just a lot quicker right now. So Oscar Jensen staying up in first position. Chad Gunningsman trying to make a little bit of a battle there on the inside. So Chad Gunningsman going to go down to the inside in that number 9 car. Not quite 3 wide, but Chad Gunningsman takes the lead for the time being.
I've got a bad feeling about some things going on. A lot of cars right now trying to be Superman on the 4 fresh tires. We'll see who makes it stick and who makes contact. Oscar said, all right, boys.
Oh, Benjamin D got sideways.
Not really sure there. I saw maybe some contact between a couple of cars, or close to.
Oh, and Jason tripped sideways now. Tim Hendry, he's crashed on the track.
See if he gets that 07 car continuing to move.
No yellow flag yet, so Chad Gunningsman still bringing us around. He is in the lead. If we get a chance, we will go back and find out what happened to Tim Hendry.
Well,
Timothy Latham all the way to the bottom.
I will say I heard about all but 3 drivers just now say, hey, thank you for not killing me. Holy cow, I'm sideways, this, that, or the other. So there's not a car out there right now where they're like, I'm okay, because everyone, thank you for not killing me. Hey, I got a little bit sideways. Sorry about that. Thanks for giving me room. All kind of comments coming back and forth.
Oh, no!
Jorgensen!
That's Jorgensen. Huge hit. Not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if he maybe tagged the apron and that just made him turn right.
I was about to say, I was in a practice session earlier in the Xfinity Series. Done the same thing. Just either one of 2 things happened, Sean, and we'll check it out with the rec replay, but either he got the apron or the bottom of that splitter bottomed out and just sucked him to the right, just like the car hit the racetrack. So we'll see what exactly happens right now with the rec replay.
And here we go. So just watch that number 24 car as he comes around. And it just looks like he loses it.
Yeah, a little bit of maybe the splitter bottoming out, and then the rear end just deciding it wasn't done sliding. And once he caught it, it was too much. He was full throttle into the wall there. So tough break for one of our drivers that we find below the cut line, Sean.
Now we're going to go back really quickly. We're going to take a look and see what happened to Tim Hendry as well. And so he is in the 07 car there, the white car with the red numbers. It looks like everybody. Oh, wow.
Actually, Sean, since we are under caution, let's watch that again if we can. Take it back to the point where the reaction started happening and go up to Oscar Jensen, those up at the front there. I know Benjamin. Let's go through this. Yeah, let's see it from this angle here. I thought something happened with Oscar because Oscar fell back a little bit.
Yeah, Oscar definitely fell back.
Take us back to 1 and 2. I think that's where you're going to find the incident for the 51 car.
And that's Zach York down on the inside, and they do have a history.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe displeasure.
I'm not sure what happened there. I'm going to try to get a different angle on that.
Yeah, the way it looks, he was trying to pinch that 49 down there.
Oh, he got sideways.
He lost the rear end of the race car. So here he comes, trying to pinch the 49 down. He's going to lose the rear end. Ooh, kept it off of everyone, though.
Wow, that could have been disaster for the entire front of the pack. And then, of course, everybody behind started checking up. And then this is back when we had the Tim Hendry wreck, so that's when he was already wrecking. So a lot of damage going on out there on the track, but all of our top 8, except for Dakota Jorgensen, all made it through. So top 7 are still okay. Dakota Jorgensen definitely needed a good race tonight. He is already below the cut line. This is not going to help him. He's been in the pits for about 2 minutes now. He's going to need a lot more repairs in there.
Yeah, honestly, I think that slip there might have put him, Sean, into a must-win situation because he was, I think, 13 points below. And now with no one out of the racetrack, I know my name's up on the scoreboard, but I should not count for position. Maybe I will, actually. I might count for position, but I don't know. Either way, obviously, he's going to go to the back. So 13 points out now. They do have point scaling in the iVCS series, so it's not going to be 1 point across the board with this little of cars. There will be several points scaling downward. So that is the good part about the iVCS.
Actually, that's not good for Dakota, though, because you still have Jason Tripp out there. You still have PJ Engelkins out there that are technically behind Dakota Jorgensen right now. However, if they stay out on the track, then Dakota will get last position. And if he gets last position, it's even fewer points than if they didn't scale those points. So not a good thing for him.
That is, bad news for him. Obviously, good news for the 6 guys ahead of him. Kendall LeBron, unfortunately, it doesn't really help him even if he does get last. Even if we'll say Dakota was to park the car right now, it's not going to help the situation for Kendall LeBron being 33 points out. He still pretty much needs a win. Obviously didn't get as many stage points as he needed either, so he's in a much-win situation almost, and I'd say so is Jorgensen. Obviously only one more race after tonight, so we'll see if either one of them can get it done, or if we're seeing their seasons come to an end. Jorgensen is now 3 laps down, so as Engelkins passes him, there's no one behind him but me, apparently.
And hopefully you're not in the car right now, because if you're broadcasting while you're in the car, then that's pretty dangerous. But look up front right now. We got a little bit of shake-up in the standings. So Zach York up in first. Justin Boyle's on the outside in second.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting here, where we see, the 2 cars that have been the fastest, the 5 and the 51, on the second row, following cars for the first time, in a while. Back out to the chat, Don Hendry said, that sucks for Tim, 07. Luis Angel Lopez joins us again and said, well, I won't repeat the first part of your sentence, but he said, sucks for my buddy Tim H. So a couple of Tim Hendry supporters tuning in tonight. He was having a pretty quiet race, but a solid race. Obviously found his way into some trouble. So hopefully the car's not hurt too bad. He's up at about 8th right now. So we will see, Sean, once again get us going in stage 2.
All right, pace car is going to dive off. My pick for the race, Zach York, who had some great practice sessions. He is going to get the restart so he can take off at any point right now. And so he's waiting, and then he takes off. He's going to get a good little jump on Justin Boyles there on the outside. He's going to clear him by about 3 car lengths as they go into turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder if the driver of the 8 wasn't asleep on that restart, as he's going to fall back to 2nd, maybe 3rd after the first 2 turns here. He's back to, back to 3rd, maybe 4th rather. So Oscar gets run on the inside. So we'll see what clean air means to the driver of the 49 car, who's been top 5 most of the night, but now finds himself out in the lead. Just doesn't look like, I'm riding cockpit cam with the 5 car right now, Sean, and just watching, it does not seem that Zach has the grip that Timothy has, even on equal tires.
Oh, and Zach gets sideways, got a little nudge there from Timothy Latham, and so he's going to fall back to 3rd position. So a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not sure, again, Zach doing what he feels he needs to do to make these things happen for him, but there he slid down in front of that 5 car late in the corner. Timothy was already there, so luckily no more contact than what happened, Sean.
Well, keep an eye on Justin Boyles. He loves these 1.5 mile long tracks, and he has not had the track position that he has right now. So he's got a little bit more to work with right now than he did in that first stint, being up in 3rd position. So keep an eye on him in that KISS car.
Yeah, that KISS car. I know the white one did not come out victorious last week at Kansas, so it's no longer undefeated. But this black KISS car, whoa, Timothy a little sideways through the tire, the quad oval. That black KISS car is still undefeated when Justin Boyles brings it to the racetrack. So we will see just what he can do. Man, about the top 9 or so, still with under a blanket. Justin looking inside of Oscar. Oscar has to give him room. Not a lot of room given, though, making Justin hold that bottom line. Unfortunately, now Justin has nowhere to go as Tim pretty much clips the grass all the way tight on the racetrack. Going to peek inside for turn 1. No room. Decides to just follow that 8 car into 2nd place, or the 8 car follows the 5 into 2nd place. Here comes Zach York back underneath Oscar Jensen for 3rd. Battles all up front. No one wants to give an inch to the guy behind him, Chad Genixman. 5th place, he's there. So is Kendall LeBron back in 6th.
And Zach York gets a little bit loose there once again. Like you were saying, not a good handle on the car right now, unfortunately. So we'll see if he can battle back on that one. But he had to drop all the way back to 6th position with that little bit of a wiggle.
Yeah, and you saw there with a little bit of a weird camera angle, but that 51 followed the 5. Oh, Justin Boyles below the line. We'll see what happens there. He's going to have to come back, give the room back. But as they got down into turn 1, the 51 took his bumper right to the rear end of the 5 car, took away all of the air, and allowed he and Justin Boyles both to squeeze by. So these guys, Oscar and Timothy, 2 of the best drivers that I know as far as dumping air and getting cars loose. It's so hard to beat either one of them when it comes to races like this, where if you dump the air, the car snaps loose. You see Oscar dive to the bottom and break the draft of Boyles. Gets back down, set for the corner in 3 and 4. Just so much racing knowledge amongst the 2 drivers of the 5 and the 51.
Man, all 6, 7 of these cars, really, if you include Danny Dow, who is a lap down. But these top 6 cars all in the playoffs right now, all of them have a good shot at this thing. And they are not letting up at all. Zach York down on the inside, making it 3 wide.
Yeah, and honestly, see here, I'm not sure if maybe Zach York felt that Timothy raced him a little hard. We'll see if there's some payback. Hopefully not. But I think, draft right now is all that's got this top 6 held in tight with Oscar Jensen. I watched that car every corner. See, even here, you see him go to the bottom and it sticks. Actually, that time, Genixman stuck the best to the bottom as Oscar came back up the racetrack a little bit. But there's about 2 cars right now, Sean, that can really drive it down to the white line and keep it there in 1 and 2. Obviously, a few more in 3 and 4 can do it. But Oscar's car handling pretty well amongst the field right now.
Well, you got to think out there on the track that everybody knows that Latham is already into the championship, and so that might be kind of tempting for a Zach York or somebody else that gets nudged by Timothy Latham out there to go and take matters into their own hands. But you got to remember too that damages your car, And so forget about Timothy Latham. Get out there, race your race, and then work your way into the playoffs. You can worry about, personal battles later.
Yeah, and honestly, that on the opposite side of that, on the flip side, so to speak, if you were to take out, let's say we'll use those two, if Zach York's to bump Timothy Latham here, the bad news is it's not going to hurt Timothy. He just better hope at that point that 5 car doesn't roll again, because if it does and he retaliates, that 49 car is not into the championship 4 yet. So any damage then done back to the 49 puts you kind of in a box as far as making the final round. Retaliation on that obviously will be handled by the admins accordingly, but you've got more to lose than the 5 car. So I think any of these guys racing him hard, if you race him side by side into the corner and he gets loose and wrecks you both, it only hurts you. It does not hurt the 5 car. So as he continues on in his drive to make a champion out of himself, if he puts you in an awkward spot, you kind of he has that power at this point, Sean. He can put the car places he normally wouldn't because he has nothing to lose. If he crashes out tonight in Martinsville, so be it. He'll be at Phoenix regardless. And you see him right now looking ever so slightly now inside Chad. Chad can't really fight that off. As I said, Timothy's locked in. So if they were to come together battling for that spot, Timothy's fine. Same with Oscar. Oscar has a 25-point lead, but if Timothy pokes that nose down there just the same, he's kind of just got to let him do it. You got to race safe, as you said, race smart, make yourself into that championship 4, and just for the moment allow Timothy to do what he's going to do.
Yeah, we got to go back and talk just a little bit about this. There's a huge difference between being a dirty driver and being an aggressive driver. And so we're not calling Zach York or Timothy Latham dirty drivers at all. They are both aggressive drivers. They both go for their spot, and they'll do what it takes to get there. They're not out there to wreck anybody, but if somebody's in front of them and a little bit slower, they're going to give them a little bit of a nudge just to kind of, and I'll put this in Jason Tripp terms because he taught me this term while we were racing against each other. He moved me out of the way. It wasn't he didn't hit me. He bumped me and moved me out of his way so he could move forward. And that's what you got to understand here. These guys are not out here trying to knock each other out of the race. They're out here trying to race hard, but they're both going for the same spot at the same time.
Yeah, and honestly, just speaking on Timothy Latham, as I said, I've known him for a while. I don't know Zach York as well, but the one thing I'll tell you, Timothy's got a wired-up attitude in a lot of people's minds. I can assure you that if he races you side by side for 50 laps and it's clean, hard racing, he's not going to turn you. He's not going to wreck you. As you said, he might move you, but he's not going to wreck you. He's not going to come at you, talking trash or anything like that. It's just when things go the wrong way, when someone drives in and flat drives through him, then he's got something to say. He's quick to fire off. And I think that's, a lot of drivers, I know I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm worse about it than Timothy is, but, he'll race you clean as long as you race him clean. But when you make some contact, even if it's just dooring someone down in the corner, body checking them with the race car, Timothy's going to do the same back to you. If you give him a spot like we see now, he's racing with Chad. If he leaves enough room to get down in the corner, Timothy's going to put that nose there. Now, they're good friends. They're affiliates, but that's a lot of mentality that you kind of have to be a successful iRacing driver and even a race car driver. To be willing to take the chances. And you see now, I thought Chad was going to dive inside of the 51. The 51 left that door open. And, Sean, really, when you talk about this league here being as good as they are, and you go into any public lobby you go into, that goes back to what you were saying. There's some guys that there's no room there. They poke their nose. They make room. All of the guys in this series, that are racing tonight, I can say they're not going to put you in that spot. If there's no room, they're going to wait. You see patience among about the top 4 right now where, realistically, any one of them can dive inside of the next. Take them out, make the room, but they're not doing that, Sean. They're just being patient. They're waiting for the slip-up, waiting for that little bit of room to put the nose there, and then they make the pass. And I do want to correct myself. It is the top 5, not the top 4.
Yeah, and again, these guys, it's such an interesting dynamic, and if you ever get a chance to get into a Discord channel of an iRacing league, it's really interesting because the night after the race, right after the race, people are all fired up, man. People cannot sleep. They are all, they're all gunned up about this stuff, and a lot of times they start to kind of bicker at each other. The next day, they're sharing pictures of their actual cars.
Yeah, it's discords for iRacing are the full circle. One moment you got guys screaming and cussing at each other and yelling, telling them what they thought. And then the next moment, like you said, Timothy, obviously he won last week at Kansas. Still felt that a couple of guys did him wrong in the way they raced him, and been much of the season. He's been in those spots. But following day, he went out and he got a brand new car. He was in the chat talking to the same guys that he was fussing at the night before. He was showing him his new car and how proud he was that he worked hard for that new car. And that's pretty much what it's been, just a full circle where when it comes race time, when they're where they are now, there's no friends. Even he and Boyles, if they get into it, they'll go back and forth. He and Chad, they're friends outside of the race. But when it's race time, when there's this much on the line, you don't have any friends, Sean. You're just out there driving alongside of these guys.
These top 5 are the closest on the track right now. Everybody else is at least a second away from the person next to them. And so we're going to stick with this top 5. I know we haven't gotten to a lot of these people in the bottom half of the pack, but really just not a lot of really close racing going on back there right now. So we're going to hang out up here for a little while, and hopefully we get a chance to see some of these bottom half guys a little bit later on in the race.
Yeah, and just looking right now, Sean, pit stops came in on lap 77. Right now we're at about 111, so 30, a little over 30 laps right now. So we will be seeing some green flag pit stops in less than 10 laps for our leaders.
And out there in the chat right now, Daniel Bowler says, you don't go to the racetrack to make friends. Now, I'll tell you this. I did not get on iRacing to make friends, but I have made some of the best friends I've ever had in iRacing just by not even trying, just by getting out there and having fun with these guys. So if you do not already get into iRacing and you're watching right now, go out and get into iRacing. Seriously, it is the most fun you will ever have, as well as some of the hardest racing you'll ever see. You'll meet all sorts of awesome people. And yeah, you're going to make some people mad, but you're also going to make a lot of friends out there without even trying.
Well, that's what I was about to say. We see the battle between Oscar and Timothy. I can tell you about Oscar and Timothy. I could tell you about, yes, he was talking Daniel Bowler and Timothy. When it comes down to it, when we're just, shooting the breeze, we'll say, to keep it PG, Timothy Latham, Daniel Bowler, they'll get along fine. When it comes to racing for a win, they're on op. Whoa, Chad's going to drive way through the grass
Chad.
here. Get loose. Good save.
Hold on to it.
Good save by the driver of that 9 car, but that was a little bit of shots fired into Chad.
Not sure that Chad liked that too much.
Chad did not. He said, if I get back up there, I will not lift. So we'll keep an eye on that.
So, and definitely these top 4 drivers, all 4 of them currently in the next round of the playoffs as the points sit right now. And so again, cream rising to the top. But if we get Chad back up towards these guys, we might see a little bit of action up there. So far, no cautions during. And Oscar gets a little loose. He dives down. He gets down. I think he's going to come into the pits now.
I don't know that he was a little bit loose there trying to shake that race car to keep going, Sean. He might be out of fuel.
That was a little bit more wiggling than I thought that he would have out there. So Zach York will assume the lead with Timothy Latham right on his tail.
But anyways, back to what I was saying, I think back to the Truck Series race. I think it was at Michigan or Chicagoland. Timothy Latham coming to pit road this time, not letting Oscar get too far ahead of him. But, I think back to that race between Bowdler and Tim, and if you'd have heard just the conversation between them, talking to one, talking to the other, you'd assume that they hated each other. But at the end of the day, they were just racing for the win. So, obviously that's what you got to do here. I do want to touch back on the situation with Oscar. In Oscar's defense, I know Chad did not like that move, but the last time Oscar didn't race that way at Texas, Timothy Latham actually sent him down through the grass in the exact situation. So Oscar played that a little bit more defensively that time to make sure he didn't wind up in the grass.
And it looks like all of our leaders starting to come in now. So Greg Edney will actually come around. Oh, no, he is going to dive in as well. So now out front, Danny Dow. So somebody that's not in the playoffs at all. He was part of the qualifying series. So if he can get around here, then he is going to assume the lead. Let's see if he dives into the pits as well. And he will not. He's going to keep on going. So he's going to assume the lead just for a brief moment.
Yeah, one of the better guys that I know in iRacing is that Danny Dow guy right there in the 2-car. You know, I've got probably a group of about 8 people that I can tell you just some of the best guys that I actually know. Oh, Timothy Latham. Woo. A slide off of turn number 2, gathers it back up, but honestly, I know for a brief moment he had to, how can I say this? Yeah, scared him to death and probably scared the 9-car to death as well because, man, that was a power slide that he went for right off at 2. You had the 9-car Ginnicksman there coming off of pit road, and it was just ever so close. But I think the biggest thing I'm looking at right now is Justin Boyles as the leader. 4th place prior to the pit stops, but right now he's the leader. Dana Marie Chambers out in the chat said, I want to drive. Dana, we'll try to put together a powder puff race and see if we can get Ted or Mike to let you behind the wheel of one of their rigs. Come out and destroy some of the other powder puffs. I know my wife ran the last one. Daniel Bowdler said Danny going to lead all of them. He can get it down. LOL. He got a fast car there. I think he was a lap down at the time, but he charged up there and raced with the leaders.
I mean, forget that. I want to see Dana Marie Chambers on a separate rig because I want to see her go against Ted Pullen because I think that would be, man, I would broadcast that.
I would second that. I would jump in the broadcast booth and honestly, Marianne Cornell, got to find a rig for her as well and just have, you know, the full Pullen Ted Pullen fan base amongst each other because they come in groups and they can almost make up a field of their own, Sean.
Yeah, we'll call it the Ted Pullen Invitational. And we'll invite only Ted Pullen's family, and we'll still have a full race.
Just trying to see what car. I think it's Jorgensen blinking out there.
Yeah, Jorgensen is back out on the track, but he is 30 laps down right now. So definitely not the night that he's wanting. But the fact that he's out there on the track, he has a chance to gain a couple of spots. I know Jordan Sailors has been in the pits for about 7 minutes now. So if he stays in there for about another 15 minutes, then Dakota Jorgensen is going to catch him and get just a few more points. And those few more points is all he might need to save his day from being completely eliminated from this thing.
Yeah, and that shows a lot of grit and determination to make this final round from the driver. That 24 car still out there, multiple laps down, doing all he can do to try to hang on. And as you said, Sean, still plenty of laps if Engelken sparks it, or Jordan Sailors continues to try to get closer to him. I just listened to some of these drivers as they're racing. Ginnicksman, Timothy, and Zach York, they're racing together. And another scary moment down into turn 1. I think Timothy's made that car a little looser than he wanted to. And that time, it looked like it held pretty good. But the last couple of times, turn 1 and 2, it didn't stick at all. So Timothy just describing that situation from his point of view. And hearing Chad and Zach come back with their opinions of it was pretty great.
And we don't broadcast the actual radio chat from the drivers because you just never know what they're going to say and the kind of language they're going to use to do it. But that might be something we look into in the near future as far as trying to get that out there. We're going to have definitely a delay and be able to bleep out some of the stuff that they say.
Yeah, there's been a few choice words that would not be broadcast friendly as of right now. Actually, going back to the Tim describing his 1 and 2 situation, I don't think that one would have made well. I mean, it would have been a funny moment for the broadcast, but for professional reasons, it wouldn't have sounded too good. I know we're riding along with 3rd, 4th, and 5th here, but 1st and 2nd right now, just not really a battle. Oscar's kind of pulled away from Justin Boyles. We're pretty much riding along the closest battle on the racetrack. There you see Boyles and Oscar out in front of him. And then this group of cars we've been watching kind of riding along behind him. I do want to take a moment. We've had about 13 to 15 viewers hanging with us. subscribe if you're not subscribed. Make sure you do get notifications every time we go live, as well as, if you don't mind, drop a like on the stream. It does help us know, even if it's a dislike. You know, it helps us know, you know, whether we're doing good, we're doing bad. If we're doing bad, or even if we're doing good, let us know in the chat what we can do to improve. That's, you know, that's mine and Sean's goal each and every week, to improve the broadcast, to improve ourselves, and, you know, kind of build on it, Sean.
We'll take a look right now at Boyles and Genningsman. Genningsman gaining about half a second a lap right now on Justin Boyles. So it's not going to be much longer until that 3-car pack, and there you see the gap. So not going to be much longer until that 3-car pack gets in there.
Yeah, and honestly, remind me again, what lap? We have 80 to the finish, right? So about 155, 145,
so
or 245?
150. Oh, 150 is the cutoff for this stage. So we still got, you know, 20 laps to go here. And looks like Chad Genningsman, Timothy Latham, and Zach York have come alive as they have kind of teamed up together to move up. Now Chad Genningsman is going to take the inside, and he's going to keep moving forward towards Oscar Jensen. And now we will take a look at that gap here. And you can see that Genningsman, again, is gaining about 0.4 of a second on Jensen right now. So it's not going to be too much longer. They're only a second and a half apart. So give it about 4 more laps, and these guys will be together again. And you heard what was said on the radio. Be careful out there.
Starting to get a little bit nervous. I do see Dana Marie Chambers said that would be so fun. If I was closer to New Jersey, I'd allow one of you guys to hold on to my rig and run with it. I don't mind at all. Unfortunately, probably about 10 to 12 hours from you. If I was a little bit closer, we'd put together that charity race, or however you guys want to look at it, because I agree with Sean. I think it'd be fun for, you know, Dana Marie Chambers and Marianne Cornell to come in there and beat up on old Mike Pullen and Ted Pullen. I think it'd be fun to see.
I think we would turn the cautions off, we would turn the radios on, and I think we would be laughing so hard the entire time that, I mean, it would be perfect TV.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the coolest events that I was a part of was it was the Powder Puff race. Once a driver for the iVCS, Travis Daly. I can't remember how to say his last name. He put that event on. It was a Powder Puff race. My wife ran in it. I was kind of listening to my wife, and Travis's wife. Just lost me, Kathy. Kathy's Travis's wife, and then a couple of guys I ran with in the qualifier series, Nick Young and Nathan Hall. Their wives ran in it. Of course, like I said, my wife's in it, and then a couple wives of people that I didn't know, all in the same race. And it was funny to hear them, you know, for Sean or for myself or some of you guys that do get into iRacing, you know, hey, the car is loose. And, you know, those women would be like, I don't know what that means. You know, what does loose mean? So it was fun to see, you know, you'd hear them in the background asking their husband, hey, babe, what does loose mean? Why is she loose? You know, it was a cool experience. So that's, you know, it's always fun when the women jump in the seat, try to match it. I know I had a charity race the same day as my wife ran Talladega. She finished second. I finished 14th, and every time we have the conversation, she reminds me of that. So it's still fresh in my mind.
Well, so Chad Genningsman has caught up to Jensen. So out in the chat, Daniel Bowler says bump and run. It's going to be interesting, and I agree. It is going to be extremely interesting. I know Chad got right up on his bumper there and then kind of lost some traction. So let's see if he can jump right back up there. He's getting a good run on the outside.
I'll tell you who's in the hot seat right now for this battle. It's the guy in third, Timothy Latham. And then Zach York, I think, right behind him. Oh, Timothy with a big run. Yeah, something tells me the driver of that 9 car is still a little bit heated about what happened last week, because he was running solid corners, no mistakes, and as he caught up to the 51, he made a mistake here and a mistake there, and it cost him the second spot. So unfortunately for him, or fortunately, I guess, for Oscar, he'll still have time to cool down before getting back to the back bumper of the 51 car.
So just to update everybody here, so the top 5 are all in the playoffs currently. The number 7 spot, that's Benjamin D. He's in the playoffs. And then number 11, Kendall LeBron, has gone a lap down. And so he is also in the playoffs, but he is last place in the playoffs right now. He needs a good race, but right now being a lap down, that is certainly not going to help him.
No, and you know, I'll say it for the guys that weren't here before. I myself are showing on the leaderboards. I'm not sure if misclicked when joining the session, but I'm not actually running in the series. Obviously, I'm up here calling it live for you guys. So currently, final playoff driver there, Dakota Jorgensen, is the last car on the racetrack, 31 laps down. He's only about 6 laps from catching Jordan Sailors, which will accrue another point or so. And actually, Jordan Sailor's about to go another lap down right now to Oscar Jensen. That's him on the outside. Oh, whew. Scary moment for our leader.
Yeah, Oscar may have lost a little bit of traction there, and that allowed Jordan Sailors to just kind of, you can see, here comes Timothy Latham, here comes Chad Gunningsman, so he lost a lot of time on that move.
Timothy's about to lose even more because Chad's inside of him. He's going to have to lift a lot for that damaged 55 car. Jordan going to go high, allow Timothy in the middle.
So Chad Gunningsman just going to let it roll up high a little bit, try to get a good run off the corner.
Oscar's super loose, too. I keep seeing the rear end of that 51 car bounce out from under him ever so often. I know, see there, the rear end just slid ever so slightly. So I think him and Timothy Latham both made some adjustments to the car this time that they'll probably go back on the next time they pit, because we've transitioned to full night now. So you obviously have to be on top of those changes to make sure, how the car transitions day to night. Timothy going to get another run now inside. Not going to peak there just yet. Had the opportunity. Stayed behind the 9 car. Decided to give him a shove into 3 as they continue to track down the man that's been out front for most of this thing, Oscar Jensen. Closing in on, I believe it's going to be Greg Edney there. So a little bit of lap traffic coming in again.
And just going to pull it back up one more time. So the pit strategy, I believe everybody's going to have plenty of fuel to get here these last 10 laps. I don't think we're going to have any issues with fuel at all. However, just keep in mind this nice tight race here from these top 4 cars. So one little wiggle is all it takes.
Well, I will say that the one that I want to look at, the 5 spot there, Sean, he's sitting at 28. Timothy ran about 38 last time. And we saw him cutting the car off, pushing the clutch in, trying to do all he could. So Boyle's running the same, obviously, manufactured, same relative setup as Timothy Latham. So we'll see how close Boyle's will wind up being. Everyone else with about 10 to go, less than 10 to go now, should be relatively good, as you said. I don't think anyone's even within that window right now.
Chad Gunnick's been putting on some pressure now on Oscar Jensen. Now he's given a little bit of pressure the last 3 or 4 laps, but just has not been able to complete that pass. So let's see what happens here. And so Daniel Bowdler says the track should come in for Tim and Oscar as we transition into night and gain more grip on the track. And that is true. As it gets nighttime, it starts to cool off a little bit. Cooler air, cooler temperatures mean more grip in the tires, so the tires don't get as mushy as quickly. And so that will allow you to actually make some of these moves on the inside that a lot of these drivers can't do right now because it's just those tires are shot already. And so definitely early in the run, it's a lot easier to pass here than later in the run. And you're seeing that right now with Chad Gunningsman, where he can get right up on the bumper of Oscar Jensen. He just cannot make it stick there on the bottom and make it pass.
Yeah, and I want to get back to what Dana said as well there, but just speaking in terms of Oscar, Timothy kind of had the same issue when he got up there earlier in the race. He got right to the back bumper of Oscar, and we thought maybe he was saving fuel, but as I see Chad struggle with the same thing, I just think with this package that it's just so hard to do anything without a mistake once you get there. Daniel Bowdler, I do agree with you 100%. They should be getting max grip here before long, but I think Timothy and Oscar wanted a little bit more out of the car, and actually Chad going to slide in 1 and 2 there, but I think they wanted a little bit more out of the car and tried to free the car up for this run. I fully expect them to go the other way on it. Dana Marie Chambers said, I know quite a bit. Now, of course, this is referencing the women taking over the race rigs. He said, I know quite a bit. My Uncle Mike and my dad raced together for a very long time. Dad had a few race cars. Best one, wife's nightmare down the side. I will tell you, fully speaking. My wife finally fell asleep over here to my side. Her least favorite thing that I own is my steering wheel, pedals, and gear shifter. So I don't quite own a race car, but she's not a fan of the steering wheel.
Yeah, it does take a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of effort. And definitely I have to appreciate my wife and my daughter allowing me to do as much broadcasting as I do. It's a lot of fun for me, and yes, it takes some time away from them, but they just love turning on YouTube and actually hearing me broadcast these races. So I got to tell you, if my daughter is still awake right now, go back to bed. You are not supposed to be awake this late.
Yeah, and same. My middle kid, my oldest son, coming here a few times. He said, "Are you racing? Are you racing?" I said, "No." I said, "You got to go to bed, though." And he said, "Can I watch you race?" I said, "Baby, I'm not racing." You know, he's only 5. I said, "I'm not racing." He said, "Well, can I listen?" And I said, "Yeah, you listen." And he wound up watching something on Netflix. But he asked me every single day, my daughter, my 2-year-old son, every one of them. You know, just, "Hey, can I watch you race? Can I watch you race?" So anytime I'm in a broadcasted race, at some point, same as Sean, it'll end up on the TV. You know, we'll be watching it. One of them, I'm not gonna give him credit because his head's big enough, but one of them's a Daniel Bowther fan. They're a fan of that car, the 6 car that Daniel Bowther drives. So Daniel, one of my kids, obviously likes watching you race better than they like watching me race.
All right, white flag here for the stage as Oscar Jensen has started to pull away from Chad Gunningsman, so it's about 3/4 of a second now, and so he should be able to go 2 for 2 on these stages as long as he can keep that car pointed straight. And so Oscar Jensen going to get another 10 points in the standings, but Chad Gunningsman going to get some needed points as well. So that is definitely going to help him in his charge. Zach York is going to come in 4th, Timothy Latham in 3rd. So Timothy doesn't need the points at all. Zach York could definitely use some of those points, and so that is what he is going to get. So we are going to go under caution here just briefly as everybody finishes this lap, and there is the yellow flag. And so Oscar Jensen, with going 2 for 2 on the stages, Brandon, can he make it 3 out of 3?
I think so, Sean, and the reason I say that is if we continue the trend, you know, I sound like Larry Mack talking trends of the race, but we haven't seen a whole lot of cautions. I think just one caution, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the stage cautions. 80 laps to the finish, that means actually it's going to be less than that by the time we get going, so should only need 1 pit stop. It'll be close at the end, but we should only need 1 to get us there. So it's going to be tough, depending, especially if Oscar's the first car on pit road. If he times it perfect, I think it'll be tough to beat Oscar, or if he can cycle out as the leader. It's just so hard for anyone to get around that 51 car on the racetrack. I think he can do it. He's pretty much, you know, we've seen cars get close to him, but no one get around him. And even, you know, when Boyles cycled out ahead of him, he was able to charge back out front. He was able to get back around Boyles and kind of maintain the lead. We saw the 9 car run him down. Still couldn't do anything once he got there. The 5 car got up there. I think Zach York was there at one point. No one's been able to get around the 51. Now, of course, we're in stage 3 of a playoff race, so the bumpers are going to come into play a little bit more in this stage. But outside, barring any bumpers or wrecking going on, I don't think they can beat Oscar.
Yeah, he has just been on a rail all night long. Now, I mean, he's got some close competition out there, but nobody's actually been able to make that pass, and that's going to be some trouble there. Chad Gunningsman gets a little bit deep into his pit there, so he has to put it into reverse, so that's going to hurt him just a hair. Let's see if he can get out in second place where he came in. Oscar Jensen takes off, and it looks like Gunningsman is actually going to fall back to 4th position off of that of getting into his pits a little bit deep. So definitely pit stops are always part of the strategy here. You know, Brandon, we were not able to get a hold of Oscar Jensen the first stage because he was not in the chat. I see him in the chat now. Let's see if maybe we can grab him right now, if that's okay with you.
That's totally fine with me. Anytime I can talk to Oscar is a good time.
Well, let's see if we can pull him up here. So Oscar Jensen, Sean and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty good. How
good.
y'all doing?
Oh man, we were just loving watching you be on a rail out there. You were just taking it to people. What are you finding on the track that other people aren't seeing?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but has to do with a certain turn that I think if drivers are watching, they'll probably understand. But yeah.
I will say, I've been waiting a few weeks now. I don't want to wish you any bad luck. I wanted to see when you make it happen here through this stage. I want to see you burn that 51 car all the way down on the front stretch. It's been hard. We were talking. What do you do differently? We saw Timothy. He's drove you down at one point. Chad's drove you down. Zach's got there, but no one's able to get out in front of you. How are you able to just control their momentum? And actually, even when one driver did get by you, I think it was Latham, you put that nose right to the bumper, loosened him up, got him out of the way. How do you know so much about Texas here?
Well, I don't know. I've just done a lot of Texas in my off time, and with this package and the way this track is now, it's a lot of drafts. And I think if we had a different package, we'd probably be able to pull away from some of these guys, because I know they've been able to pull us through the backstretch in 3 and 4. But as this run goes on, we were able to just basically outdo it for them, and that's kind of what we need here. Is we need this to go green.
Well, now, if it does go green, I mean, do you already have the pit strategy in mind that you're going to use the rest of the way?
Yeah, we got a pit strategy. Obviously, it's going to be semi-close on what you want to do or not. So it's going to be you're probably going to see a few different pit strategies play out here.
Yeah, we've been seeing that pretty much all race, and can't wait to see what you do the rest of the way, buddy. So congratulations on 2 really great stages. Let's see what you can do in number 3.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try and do my best for y'all and get this win.
All right,
Good luck, buddy. Go win that thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we will drop him back down there with his teammates. And so, Brandon, you picked Oscar Jensen to win this race. I picked Zach York, who is right behind Oscar Jensen in line there. So is there anything that you're seeing right now that leads you to believe that anybody has a shot here except for Oscar Jensen?
No, sir. And again, I was wondering if that was, he said a certain turn. I know what turn he's referencing, and I see what he's doing versus what they're doing. I will tell you after the broadcast, in the event some of these drivers are watching our broadcast, I won't say it. It's one thing that I'm honestly surprised that at least Timothy hasn't corrected in his ability. He knows a lot about the situation that Oscar's talking about. I'm surprised he hasn't tried it. Maybe he was saving it for stage 3. But Oscar is doing one thing more so than the rest of these guys, and it's not going to sound like much if you were to hear it, but it's obviously been all the difference so far.
Well, there is a reason that I'm in the broadcast booth and not out there on the track, because I don't have a clue what he's talking about right now.
And that's one of the things. I don't know that I could make anything of it as they go green here, but actually we'll get back to that. Oscar taking control yet again. Stage 3, about to do this thing one more time at Texas. Oscar's waiting, and he's gone. Timothy with the semi-good restart, but a great jump for the driver of the 51 car, Sean, as we head now still 2x2 for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Oscar clean and clear so far. We'll see what guys can do around him.
And now Zach York back up into 2nd position. And so we've seen him towards the front a little bit tonight, but then he's kind of fallen back on the long runs. Let's see if he can make something work here, or if he made any changes. Looks like he's going to get a little bit loose. You got Justin Boyles right behind him. Maybe gave him a little bit of a love tap.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not sure that Boyles actually touched him. Boyles just kept that car in line and took away all of the spoiler air that Zach needed in that corner. It actually called Oscar sideways.
And
kept it out of the wall.
These cold tires. So, oh no! Now Oscar definitely into the wall. We do have a caution. Oh my goodness! And that is going to be some damage between the 1st and 2nd place drivers. That would be Justin Boyles and Oscar Jensen. We will go back and find out exactly what happened there. I bet we're going to watch this a few different times.
I'm going to give an early call. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what happened there. Oscar tried to put a block on Boyles. Tim was inside of Boyles. Justin couldn't do anything to counteract it, and just ran out of racetrack amongst the 3 of them. Oscar tried to block with no room to block, and it didn't abide well for him.
We are going to take a look. You can see Oscar coming off the corner. Justin Boyles trying to dive inside. Timothy Latham was down there already, and so he had to be careful about how deep he got into that corner. And Oscar Jensen just kind of gets a little bit of a turn there. So we will go back and check it out one more time here. See, we need to back that up just a little bit. So let's try to back that up just a hair. As we get another wreck replay. So Oscar gets really loose there. In starts coming around, so that allows Justin Boyles to catch up. And you can see here that Oscar's kind of in the middle lane. Justin tries to go down to the bottom lane. Timothy Latham's already there. Justin comes back up and tags Oscar Jensen. So not really sure anybody's at fault there, just kind of the circumstances that happened as Timothy got a really great run there on the bottom. And but that is definitely going to cause Oscar Jensen to fall back in the standing, or not in the standings, but in the race right now at least. So Oscar in the pits, getting some damage repaired. Not sure how long he's going to be there, or if he can get that car back out there before the cars come around to lap him. So we will see shortly if he can get that car back out of there.
I wasn't gonna say it. I see Bowdler said in the chat. I agree. I'm going to say I agree with you. I believe that was a little bit of the block. I think there was some intent. I don't think Boyles meant to wreck him, but I definitely think Boyles hit him intentionally. I agree 100% with Daniel Bowdler there. And, of course, I'm a broadcaster, so I'll just call it. You know, Boyles has always told me to call it as I see it. And as I saw that one there, I think he might have had some intent behind it.
Well, and it looks like Oscar's still in the pits, so he will go at least a lap down. He's going to come out. Let's see if he gets out of the pits before they come around. He might beat them off of pit road, and it looks like he will. So he will stay on the lead lap for the time being. But he's still got a lot of damage that he's got to get fixed up, so he might come around and dive back into the pits one more time.
And honestly, you know, I don't want to wish bad on any driver. I hope that I'm misinterpreting that. Same for Bowdler. I hope we're wrong, but it did seem, you know, a little bit like a tap that I'm here, and Oscar was already loose, so a little bit of that tap went a little bit further than he intended to, but we'll see. You know, again, only Oscar can determine, and Oscar and Boyles know how they feel as well. We may see a little bit of payback. We don't know. We'll wait and see. It'll make for a good broadcast, Sean, but obviously not a good day for either driver if that is the case.
I'm just kind of checking Justin Boyles' car there. I don't really see all that much damage. There might be a little bit of a crinkle, but nothing too terrible there. So yeah, he might get away with that one. He might get away without some damage there. So, all right. So, once again, Oscar Jensen back in the pits one more time. Definitely has a lot of damage to get fixed up, but he is able to kind of keep that car out in front of these cars on the lead lap. So, if we can get another caution out here, then that's going to give Oscar another chance to get a car back out there a little bit better. So we'll see how everything shakes out here. We still have a nice 74 lap run to go.
Yeah, and it's going to get interesting now. So with the guy that's pretty well dominated this thing so far, you know, he's not up front anymore. Not to say that he won't get there, but right now he's not up front anymore. He's not with these lead guys. So now it's kind of an open grab bag, and I'm not going to change my pick. You know, I'm going to stick with Oscar through and through. But the guy that I have to look forward to seize this opportunity is not Boyles. It's not Zach York, but it's the guy right behind them both. I think Genixman now reaches up and is maybe able to do something with this. Obviously, on the long run, was the second fastest car. I think he was a little bit faster than Timothy. But we'll see here, Sean.
See, I kind of disagree a little bit. There's a couple other guys out there that really desperately need a good finish here besides Genixman. Genixman already in that top four as it sits right now, but Benjamin D is down below him in the standings, and so he is sitting back there in 5th position, so he needs a good restart here just to give himself the track position that he needs to get a good finish.
Yeah, now's the time that you kind of have to capitalize on it too. We're getting into crunch time. I'm interested to see, how much damage that actually did. But Timothy Latham looks like he's going to be our leader. Chose the high line, and he get off and going quickly, probably likely down to the bottom in front of that 8 car, trying to go for it, trying to get this win, to go back-to-back, keep anyone else from punching their ticket in. But there's some hungry drivers, Sean, that want to make sure that's not the case.
Well, so one thing that I thought about a little bit earlier, so Latham has 8 wins on the season right now. If he wins tonight, he's got 9, and nobody can beat him in wins. They can only tie him, and that would be Oscar Jensen if Oscar won the last 2 races of the season. And so this is more of a pride thing than anything else for Timothy Latham.
Yeah, and I can assure you there's nothing that he likes more than bragging rights. He likes to be able to go out there and say, hey, I'm the guy that does it. Even when you talk about the iVCS winter off-season race that, took place, or the series that took place prior to this, Timothy had the most wins in that series as well, and he's made sure to remind everyone, oh, Boyle's front bumper might not be done if the blocking continues, because he's racing with Timothy now. Timothy kind of shutting the door a little bit. We'll see. He lifted for now. Still a lot of racing to go, so we'll see if Boyles continues to use that bumper to find his way into the championship race.
Well, keep in mind that these 2 are teammates, and so if you do that to your own teammate, then I guarantee you there is some language being said in the Discord channel that we are not going to hear here live.
That's probably for the best as well. It goes back to the professionalism, but I will say, we're at this point in the season, there are no teammates, Sean. It's go time. It's go or go home time, essentially. You're down to the point where, yeah, that 5 car is, he's helped you along all season. He's give you pointers. He's the guy that knows his stuff, but right now he's the guy in your way. If you make it, you're going to have to race him. He's on a high momentum-wise. He's our previous winner. He's leading this race. He's been pretty much untouchable. If you can do anything, right, like there, Boyles is going to lift again. I have a feeling there's going to come a point where that 8 car gets tired of lifting, and rightfully so. Tim's putting the blocks on. He's keeping that car down to the bottom, not giving Boyles a chance, really. So, you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, teammates are nice, but if you're not in the championship race, all you got to do is sit on the couch and watch them race. So, interesting to see how this unfolds here.
Well, we'll see if Boyles can pull him back in one more time and then see what he does when he gets up to the back bumper. Again, these 2 are teammates, so he doesn't want to spin them, obviously, but at the same time, he does not want to come in second place. He would much rather have that first place because Justin Boyles is currently sitting in 6th in the playoff standings, and so a win here would put him into the championship and not have to make him worry about points next week in Martinsville.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, in terms, if we take being teammates out of it, right, if you just talk about terms of what's going on this race and just 2 guys racing, as Boyles, he's got to get around this 5 car soon, because the guy that's moved into 3rd place on the long run has been, just as fast as anyone. That's Chad Gittingsman back there. He's in 3rd now. So as we continue on, the longer he stays behind the 5, the bigger the chance that he puts pressure on himself to go under fire from the 9 behind him. And Zach York, he's also there. Benjamin D, a couple car lengths back, but he's there as well. So it's starting to tighten down with about 65 to go.
Yeah, but I'm looking at Zach York and Benjamin D, also teammates, and it just seems like their setup is not set up for the long run. It seems like they have a good car for the first 5 or 6 laps, and then they start to kind of fade off a little bit. So be on the lookout for that as well. See if they made those adjustments that they needed to make to stay up here in this top 4 or 5 pack, and so they can keep this draft and maybe give themselves a good chance at the end if some action happens.
Yeah, that 9 car going to find his way into 2nd place, so we'll see what he can do now with Timothy Latham. Well, at least for the moment, Zach York looking inside of the 8 car for 3rd. So we continue on. The battle's going on here. The guy that's sitting beautifully behind these guys racing hard for it is Benjamin D. I will say, I believe our leaders are about to catch up to Oscar Jensen, so we'll see here in just a moment. I'm not sure if that was the car.
It was not. So Oscar Jensen is 8 seconds off the lead, definitely behind the pack. So he's all by himself out there. In fact, we will pull up and show you exactly where he's at. So there's the 51 car there on the bottom of your screen. The leaders are up there with the green number. So that's Timothy Latham up there. So he's definitely behind. That is Dakota Jorgensen that they are catching up to in the number 24 car. Dakota is still 23 laps down. But again, you know, more wrecks happen. He could move up in this thing.
Yeah, that was a power move by Boyles to reclaim the second spot. I'm not sure if he took those guys 3 wide or if it was just 2 wide, but he turned it to the bottom and drove past everyone in front of him. So a big move for him to take the second spot back. Oh, caution is out on the racetrack, though.
I'm not really sure where it's from.
I think it had something to do with Danny Dow. I did hear him key up and say, sorry, guys. So I don't know if, you know, something took place with him, but he did apologize on the radio.
Let's go back and we'll check out a wreck replay here. See if we can't figure out what happened. It's actually Hendry. Hendry got sideways, so we will try to get you a good look at that. So here comes Hendry in that white 07 car. And Danny Dow in front of him. So this might be where Danny Dow may have been apologizing.
I think he might tag the wall there a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So Hendry had to check up. So we will check that out once again from another angle.
The way it seemed to me, it looked like Dow put it in the wall a little bit. Hendry reacted and Ted couldn't quite see it. So that's the way I took it. I think Ted was just in a blind spot to what was going on there. Couldn't really see around the 07. But as Sean said, we'll take another look.
So we'll watch this in full speed. As it looks like Danny Dow just gets up the track. You can see him floating up, and there's no recovering from there. Danny gets into the wall. Hendry gets into the wall also. Pulling gets into the back of Hendry, spins him.
Good dodge by Greg Edney in the 30 car there.
And so pretty clear what happened there. Just one car gets in the wall, and really all these cars are so close together that a lot of times you just kind of follow the guy in front of you. And so that's why you see a lot of times one guy in front gets into the wall, the next guy gets in the wall also, and that's exactly what happened there.
Can we take a closer look at the right front of the 49 car? I was watching the battle off pit road. It looks like there may be some damage to that 49 car.
Absolutely. Looks
okay there. Yeah, you see a little bit right there. Actually,
a little bit of damage.
Our playoff series banner is the iRacing Virtual Cup Series playoff banner. You can see the separation. So saw that in car. Obviously, maybe affected a little bit of the handling of that 49 machine. But he does come off pit road second. So we'll see how that bids for him.
Yeah, not seeing enough damage to worry about just yet. Now, I could be completely wrong in that. There could be a lot more damage than that. But right now, not looking too terrible.
That little white seam right there is going to be a gap in the, a gap in the hood and the fender. So it'll be a little bit, not much, like you said. I almost wish I could see his RPMs when he pushes the clutch in. As long as he's still at 2,000 RPMs, he'll be fine. Obviously, it'll cause the car to be a little tighter, but you can kind of counteract that. There, actually, that's more along the shot that I saw. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of a white.
Out.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of a white. And let's see if we can get maybe just a hair closer. Not sure if I can get
a good shot there at the moment, but that camera's all over the place.
I mean, got a little bit on the back there. You can see that.
Mostly just a lot of dirt and rubber on that race car above all else. He's kept it relatively clean, but just right there is actually not a bad shot. If you look at the front left and the front right, you can just see a minor difference, especially now, where the hood seam would actually be. Kind of see it's raised a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You see how flush it looks on Genixman's car, which Genixman's got the reflection there on his. And I think that's a little bit of what Zach York's is a reflection. But minor damage. I'm sure, honestly, if we looked at any of the top 4 cars, they've probably got similar style damage.
Yeah, I mean, definitely everybody's going to have a little bit of damage from this. I'm not sure, and we've said before, you know, if Justin Boyles has a clean race, then he's 2 out of 3 in those races where he won 2 out of the 3 times that he's raced a clean race. Well, tonight hasn't been a clean race for him or anybody else. And so if you keep it clean, then you can stay consistent. But I don't think any of these guys in the top 7, 8 I mean, I'm looking at everybody basically. I don't think anybody's been clean tonight.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, someone's got into it here, someone's got into it there. So, I mean, contact all over the place. And that's to be expected. You know, we're playoff racing now. We're not only that, we're championship playoff racing. We're to that point that it's just, you know, become a squeeze. It's become tight. So, anything is to be expected. Honestly, I fully expect lights on the pace car are out right now. I fully expect more of what we've seen, Sean. I mean, you know, we saw Boyles, regardless whether he kind of checked him on purpose or didn't. He didn't lift. You know, he didn't get out of the throttle. So I think we'll see more of that here. We'll see plenty of it at Martinsville, and we'll see it the most we've seen it all season at Phoenix for the championship, where you have to have the mindset that you're not going to slide down in front of anyone. Because if you put that car in front of someone else and they don't lift, that's it. You know, championship over. You've worked 36 weeks for nothing. So off at turn 4, though, Sean, we're about to go back to racing.
And you can see in the back of the pack there, Oscar Jensen still on that lead lap. And so he's working hard to get into the pits every chance he can possibly get to get as much repair as he can. But the pace car is off, and Timothy Latham has us on the green flag, and he takes off. And he's going to get a car length there on Zach York on the outside. Justin Boyles staying on the inside, and so he is going to come up in second position. Now, all these guys pitted under that caution, and so everybody's got fresh tires, everybody's got full fuel now, so they cannot make it the rest of the way. They're going to have to go at least one more pit stop. So Robert Montgomery out there in the chat says strategy, and I believe that is for Oscar Jensen. So that is a strategy for Oscar, where he is getting in there, getting as much repair done as he possibly can. And one thing I'll tell you, the last time we saw Oscar in a position like this, he was 2 laps down after the first 3 laps of the race. So he missed the pace lap, he missed the grid, and he ended up coming back to win that race. So don't ever count Oscar Jensen out.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say as soon as you finished. I know, obviously, the premier private car service car out there, beautiful purple and black machine. Just because he's got damage, just because he's a little bit slower, I would never count out that 51 car, because I know for a fact that guy can flat drive a race car. And even though, you know, Timothy Boyles, Giddixman, and York are much faster than he is, I believe he might hold a little bit more strategy smarts than those guys. So we'll see how it plays out. Still quite a few laps to go. We're narrowing down to the end of this thing. Sean, been a relatively quick race so far, just about an hour or so, 2 hours into it.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get this much green flag racing, I mean, we've only had, what, 3 cautions all night that were not stage. And so anytime you have something like that, it makes for great racing on the track, but it also makes for a fast race. And so they've done a great job tonight. It's not going to be the cleanest race they've had. They did have one that was completely caution-free a few weeks ago, but it has definitely been a good race.
Yeah, right now, a battle for the lead. Chad going inside of Boyles, so trying to take it, but it's not going to stick. Still yet, I'm not seeing any of these guys. Maybe that time we'll see. Let's see the run that Zach gets. None of these guys really doing what Oscar was talking about still yet. So in turns 1 and 2, obviously that was the turn he was referring to. Not doing quite what he was expecting them to pick up on.
Chad Gunnicksman finally gets out front when there's not an Oscar there to get in his way. He takes that car out to the lead. And so Mr. Consistency, Mr. Clean out there leading this race.
Yeah, and he's got all kind of battling going on behind him. If I'm Boyles, if I'm Zach York, if I'm Timothy Latham, you've got to give up the 2nd spot, the 3rd spot, 4th spot, whatever it takes to get single file right now. You've got to stick with that 9 car, because if he walks off on you, we stay green, that's it. That's ball game. You'll see him in Phoenix.
Well, I really want to keep an eye on Zach York here, because, again, I said it before, you know, he goes a good 6, 7, 8 laps, and then his times just start to fall off really quickly. So it's almost like his car is set up for more of a short run than a long run, which at some racetracks is a great strategy. Just with this racetrack, with only 15 cars on the track total, everybody gets spaced out so quickly, and everybody's racing so clean right now that not sure that strategy is going to work out.
Timothy's starting to find a little bit there, but you are exactly right. Everybody's so spaced out once we get into this thing that really cautions are far and few between. Timothy trying, I think he's a little lane too high to try what he was trying. Going to really be the big difference. But if he can figure it out, I think it can carry him to a win.
Well, looking back a little ways, so don't look now, but in the top 6, this is Daniel Dow up there in 6th position, so not even in the playoffs, not even really in this league. He's in the qualifying series, and so a lot of times they use him as a filler in this league, and now he has just made the pass into 5th position, so a top 5 right now for Danny Dow.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys, when you start talking strategy, you start getting worried about. He's a smart driver. He knows when to bring it down. He knows how to capitalize those runs. He's the championship favorite. Another series broadcast. I think he's they're 3 wide. 3 wide for the race lead here. Not really sure what happened to Chad, but Timothy's going to take that spot away.
Timothy hit the grass.
Contact.
Timothy hit the grass there.
Contact with that grass. Maybe a little contact with Zach York, who's going to get the worst end of the stick. They're 3 wide again. Down the backstretch now, going to single out to 2 wide. These guys are going for it, and the guy probably sitting back there licking his chops is that guy we just talked about, 5th place, Daniel Dow. If these guys wad each other up, then it doesn't matter. Daniel Dow capitalizes. Oh, Zach York. A little bit shaky down the front stretch there. I got to say, Sean, I like the color of that 9 car. It's like a red, but it's almost like a matte red. Big fan of that paint scheme there. I've seen it all night, but just seeing it, I guess, maybe looks a little different on my screen than it does on stream, but it seems like a matte red to me. That's a beautiful paint scheme.
Yeah, he was in a maroon color, getting into the playoffs, and then he changed to this kind of reddish, a lot more of a red color, and really ever since then he's been on fire. So people like their lucky car schemes and stuff like that. Of course, you got Justin Boyles up there in 2nd in his KISS scheme. That's his lucky car scheme. Everybody's got them, and a lot of these guys are superstitious. They don't want to get away from something that's working for them.
Mine is a Dr. Pepper truck. Mine is a solid Dr. Pepper Toyota Tundra. That's the truck that Oscar Jensen pushed me to my first iRacing Virtual Truck Series win. It's big fan of the Dr. Pepper truck. Try to run it all that I can. So I definitely feel, lucky paint scheme. Obviously, I'm not as lucky as some of these guys when they're going out racing with the big boys and holding their own. But, I still have my lucky schemes.
Oh, yeah. Mine's the Oreo car. So nothing like a good Oreo cookie.
I knew, honestly, I wish I would have continued my sentence, because as soon as I paused, I was curious to see if you said yours was the Oreo scheme. I knew it had to be. If you had a lucky scheme, it was that Oreo scheme. So. Oh,
yeah. I'm just hoping that one day I'll win that race and Nabisco will send me a whole big pack of Oreos.
I'm hoping the same thing with Dr. Pepper. If there's anybody out there that's like, a higher up in Dr. Pepper that's watching our stream, just know, I promise you, there's not a lot of people that spend more money on Dr. Pepper than I do. I know I said earlier in the chat that I'm drinking a Pepsi, but I'm a Dr. Pepper guy. I've got a mini fridge, and it's got 3 shelves, and, of course, at the door, there's 1 shelf of Pepsi, and the rest of it's Dr. Pepper. So, make me an ambassador or something. Same as he wants to be an Oreo ambassador. I do know, cool little story here as, the lead's kind of settled down. I have a buddy of mine that an Oregon Dish Network with. He was actually a Dr. Pepper ambassador. He tried some crazy Dr. Pepper flavors, birthday cake Dr. Pepper. Sent him all kind of flavors, but don't look now, Sean. Oscar Jensen coming for the top yet again.
Yeah, Oscar Jensen in 7th position, trying to make a pass on Danny Dow to take that 6th position, and he will. Benjamin D right behind Danny Dow now. But don't ever count Oscar Jensen out, because here he is on the move. Now, he is still 6 seconds behind, and the leaders are pulling away. But just 1 mishap is all it takes. And keep in mind, everybody here has to pit at least 1 more time. A lot of times in this league, when you get a lot of pit stops going on at the same time, there's disasters that happen.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of guys some guys drive good when they're out front. Some guys, they drive good when they're following a car. Some guys drive good when they're mad. So I know I'd say Oscar has to drive pretty good when he's a little upset, because I know that car cannot be handling as well as he's making it look. He is driving the tires off that 51 car. Obviously, a little bit aggravated, I'm sure, with the events that took place. But, had it been the other way around, I think even Boyles would have understood, the aggravation. It sucks. It's just good, hard racing. But Boyles has put himself in prime position here that maybe he gives one more bumper to his teammate. He can leave Texas a winner.
Yeah, now looking back in 5th position, a name we haven't talked about all night. He was a lap down. Kendall LeBron up in 5th position trying to hold off Oscar Jensen. So we talked about how Kendall needed a good finish. And when he dropped a lap down, we were kind of worried that he wouldn't have a shot at that. But here he is working his way back up towards the front.
And don't look now, back up to the leaders. Zach York poking his nose inside of Justin Boyles for 2nd place. So we talked about, him not really having a good long car, but that was in comparison more so to Oscar Jensen, not to these guys he's racing with now, as he continues to try to get that 49 to clean air. I did see back at the other shot, Oscar starting to put pressure on Kendall LeBron for that 5th position. So Oscar never giving up, and some more contact. Let's say Zach York, Timothy Latham tangle here. Even, they get more damage than Oscar has, and even with a damaged race car, Oscar can come out of here with a 3rd place finish. So, right now, if you're anyone behind him in the points, which is everyone but Timothy Latham, you've kind of got to go up here and get this win, Sean. You can't allow his night that turned bad to still be fixed. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And so looking at the pit strategies now, so we've got all these top 7 guys. They all pitted back on lap 173, 174 in that area. And so they're about 23, 24 laps in right now. If they pit right now, they can make it the rest of the way as long as we don't go green, white checker. So because it's 36 laps. And so I think green flag pit stops are going to be starting here very, very quickly. You don't want to be the last one on the track.
Yeah, and honestly, that's where, we talk about Oscar, who's running 6th position right now, trying to pressure 5th. But he's got a decision to make. If he pits before these guys, he's obviously going to be faster. He's going to have an opportunity to get back up there and get it done. However, if maybe, he stays out a little bit longer than they do, he'll have fresh tires closer to the end, be able to run them down, be a little bit faster. I think that's the call if you're Oscar. Now, if you're any of these front 4, you just have to be, you want to be the first one on pit road. Because once one of you come, Timothy. Tim Hendry Zach York! What a save. Timothy through the grass. Chad Genixman is the first of these drivers to pit road. Chad Genixman pitted that time by.
Oh, and I think we got some action. That's Kendall LeBron into the wall.
And not sure if he had a little bit of assistance there, but I know Oscar was running relatively close to him. Actually, Oscar did apologize, so
let's
Zach
go back
York
to a
saying
rec
in driver
replay.
chat. Zach York said in driver chat he doesn't know how he saved his race car, so we'll see what happened with this incident behind him.
And you are absolutely correct. So this is Kendall LeBron and Oscar Jensen as they come around. You'll see Kendall just kind of minding his own business and not really sure what happened there.
I wonder if Oscar was trying to quickly get down behind him, almost similar to the Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch situation at Darlington. I think he tried to slide, maybe even cross over that 28 car, second part of the quad oval. Let's see.
If
we can watch that from like a chase view, maybe. I think what he's going to try to do is as soon as Kendall goes to go by, he's going to go to cross him. Just wasn't clear.
That's exactly what it looked like. So that puts Kendall LeBron in there now. Chad Gunningsman was in the pit lane as that wreck happened. So what is that going to do for him?
It's really going to determine or depend on a couple of things. One, if he got to come off the pit road before the pit road closed. Two, if he managed. I don't think he had enough time to lose his lap, so he may actually cycle out as our leader. Obviously, unfortunately for him, it's not really going to matter because everybody's got new tires now. It may give him the lead back, which I think he was running 4th at the time, so he could cycle back to the lead depending whether or not he got off before the pit road closed.
No, it doesn't look like he's going to get the lead. Justin Boyles is going to remain in the lead here.
As a matter of fact, my scoring shows him 1 lap down. So
yeah, I'm with you. He's not a complete lap down. He will be able to come back around, but he is going to be at the tail end of that lead lap, is what it looks like.
Yeah, because I do believe, just looking, Ted Pullen. We've still got the Ted Pullen fans out there. Looks like he might get the lucky dog, unless actually Tim Hendry would have got the lucky dog, I believe. Maybe. I can't remember if he was slightly ahead of the leader. Yeah, it looks like Ted's actually going to take a wave around, so Ted will be back on the lead lap here in a few moments. I guess Tim Hendry actually held the lucky dog at the time of caution. Wasn't by much that Ted would have got it, but.
Well, man, let's kind of regroup here. So, actually, Ted Pullen's going to come into the pits there. So, Justin Boyles will retake the lead. Timothy Latham in 2nd, Zach York in 3rd, and then Benjamin D currently showing in 4th. And Chad Gunnigsman will be a lap down. So I'm not really sure how that shook out, but Chad Gunnigsman will be a lap down.
Trying to touch base with Chad via the driver chat. He got a penalty, Sean. Speeding on pit road, I do believe. I tried to reach out to him and see exactly what that penalty was, but he did accrue a penalty and served it. So that is why he's going to be 1 lap down.
So he is desperately going to need another caution and him be the first car on that is lap down so that he can get that lucky dog so he can get back on the lead lap. Otherwise, his race will basically be finished as far as trying to go for the win, because everybody's made the pit stops that they need to make it the rest of the way. So no more pit strategy. It is all racing from here.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now, just looking at the points, Sean, if, let's say, Boyles holds on, say he gets this thing done here, Chad would right now be the 4th driver out of, in the playoffs. So even if he held that 4th and final transfer spot, right now he's the 4th one. So if Boyles wins, he's obviously below the cut line. That knocks Chad then out of the playoffs, racing for one of the 2 final spots next week at Martinsville.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how good he is on short tracks. I know one of the best ones on short tracks that I've seen is Zach York. So he's got 2 wins on short tracks so far this season. And so going to Martinsville, he would obviously have to be one of the favorites. So he might not necessarily need the win tonight, but still not sure you want to go to Martinsville just hoping for a good finish because it's Martinsville.
Yeah, and it's, we've saw tempers flare here tonight at Texas. We know they're going to flare next week at Martinsville. It's much like we were talking about with Phoenix. If you start to slide the nose of somebody, and they're just not going to have it at Martinsville. It's their last opportunity, especially if you go in underneath the cut line. You're not going to give an inch against anyone else. So we'll see how it plays out.
It's so hard to pass anywhere but on the bottom at Martinsville, and so you have to use that bumper to get people out of your way sometime. If they're hogging that lower side of the track, then you have no choice but to use that bumper and move them out of the way. All right, so the pace car has its lights out. Justin Boyles has chosen the top side, and so we will see how that strategy works out for him.
Interesting strategy here. You've got the flashpoint cars on the front row, the arrows on the second row, a couple of guys that want to steal the win on the 3rd row. Just about 30 laps to go, and Justin Boyles has taken off. A great jump for the driver of the 8 car, but we'll see how it holds off once the field accordions back to him. Dana Marie Chambers still hanging with us. Pulling for Ted out there on the racetrack. We'll see what he can do. I think he did elect to give up his wave around for new tires. So honestly, a smart strategy with what, the amount of laps that were left in the race.
So right now, Chad Gunnigsman is the first car a lap down. And so if there is another caution, then he will be able to get back on the lead lap. So that is good news for him.
I will say maybe some payback just took place at the back of the field. A frustrated driver, frustrated with Justin Boyles. He's sliding.
That allows Timothy Latham to take that lead on the outside.
That's what I was saying. Chad drove straight through the door of Oscar Jensen at the back of the field. So not sure if that was in regards to the incident we saw earlier, but was some contact there. So that's why the second half of the field's pretty much stacked up. Those two kind of got into each other a little bit.
Yeah, you can see some damage on Oscar Jensen. So you can see it on the outside of his car right there. A lot of damage there.
Looked like we had a little bit to the right side of Chad's car as well. Here comes Danny Dow, charging in there, trying to take the third or fourth spot away now, but looking to grab that third spot away from Boyles as well. And wouldn't it be a sour, bout of spoil if that 2 car, I think on the short run, he might be up there with one of the best. We get like a green-white checkered or something. Watch out for that 2 car who's not going away silently so far.
Oh, well, the one person that is rooting for that to happen is Chad Gunningsman, because if Danny Dow takes this win somehow, some way, then that allows the points to have another spot. And so Chad Gunningsman's so good at earning points throughout the season that would definitely help him in his quest to stay in this playoff.
Well, the one thing I will say, I know Boyles is falling back, and he and Latham are teammates. I'm going to fill you guys in real quick on the bad news about being Timothy Latham's teammate. He doesn't care. He'd rather win than, give it up. He hates to lose. He's not going to give it away. He's not going to give it to Zach York here either, so Zach's going to have to make some moves. 25 to go, that time by. Zach York going to have to find something that works with this 5 car. I know Tim looked a little tight there through the corner. Danny blinking out a little bit back there in 4th, but it's going to get racy up here. And Boyle's not out of it yet, even though he's kind of 0.6 of a second behind Latham, about 5 behind Zach. These guys start using the bumper and defensively driving. Could see Boyles charge back, and that also will open the door.
Oh!
Not sure if there was contact there or not.
Didn't look like it. Did not look like it to me, but so far still green flag. So that does allow Justin Boyles to get down to the inside. He's going to take that second position away from Zach York.
I think just going back and watching it, yeah, Zach just took the air off of that 5 car. And no contact at all. Man, it's coming down to the wire. Some of these guys feel that their season could be on the line here. Maybe not that good at Martinsville. This could be their last shot. Benjamin D has made his way back around Danny Dow for 4th place. So if these guys tangle, Danny Dow no longer the capitalized man. It's going to be Benjamin D for the moment.
Well, and some of our viewers may wonder why a car gets so loose when somebody's on their tail. The reason is that car uses the air to keep the downforce on the back tires. And so if somebody's right up on your bumper, you're taking the air right off that spoiler, which does not allow the car to have downforce. And if the car doesn't have downforce, the tires slip out, and so that back end comes around. And so it's a strategy that's used really, really well by a lot of guys, especially Zach York. You've seen him use it a couple times tonight, where you're not touching the guy at all, but you just mess up that air enough that guy either has to check up or he's going to start spinning.
Well, Sean, if we can go to a chase cam on one of these cars real quick, and I'll take that a little bit further as far as you can see. Well, Timothy's. Can we go any closer than that there? Some of these guys are all colored the same. Zach York might be a good one. Yeah, there you go. We got that fin, and I don't think they call it the shark fin anymore, but it used to be called the shark fin on the left side of that car. And it's basically its design. You see as Boyles looks inside of Latham. When he goes left to right, so when he slides up behind Latham from left, that fin there kind of protects the air coming across the spoiler. If you look to the right side of the race car, so now Zach York's on his outside. If Zach comes down behind him from the right side, you'll see Boyles will get a little bit freer. There you see it, starts to slide. It's because there's no fin on the right side of that race car to keep that air from going across that spoiler. That's the importance of, going left to right. So when you peek inside of someone, it doesn't happen as much. But when you come outside and inside on them, you see Zach York might try it again here. No, he's actually going to carry that run, but there's no fin on that right side that keeps that air from doing that. So that's why you see those guys starting to get loose when they swipe, back bumper like that. Here, he might do it again a little bit. Boyle's going to slip ever so slightly off of that corner. So that's why you see a lot of that swiping and sliding around off the corner.
Now, while all that's going on, while they're messing around with the air, you can see, he has to get out of the gas there a lot. But while all that's going on, Timothy Latham is just loving life because those two guys are racing. They're getting a little bit sideways. They're working against each other, and so Latham goes out to a half-second lead now. And we've seen Latham do this before, and once he gets about a half-second out, he is tough to catch.
Yeah, and luckily for Latham, I think Zach York's going to be the second fastest car on the racetrack. He's just got his hands full with Boyles now trying to get by him. So if by chance he uses the bumper here in a second, I think he's still got enough time to make a charge back to Timothy. But until he's clear, he's way inside down there. Not really sure. Well, he got the run. He's inside now, and he might clear that 8 car.
Yeah, I think he just wanted that inside line, so he dove all the way down to the inside of the track just so he can get that inside line. Now we got Kendall LeBron right here on the outside, so that's going to make Justin Boyles kind of dive down to the inside himself. Can he make that stick? Because he got in really fast, and he does. And so Justin Boyles will take that second position away once again.
I'm not sure how long before there's going to be contact between these two because they are defensive driving the tires off of the thing right now.
Well, you said it, the tires. You said it, the tires are important here because they're scrubbing those tires like crazy trying to defend against each other. And who's loving it? Look at that time now. It's not half a second anymore. Now it's a full second.
Yeah, and I thought that was going to be the corner right there. But, one slip, these guys are back to, 4th place, 5th place. Those guys back there around Ginnixman and a couple others. So one slip and, you could lose 1, 2, 3 positions back there because they're all together. And obviously, if we stay green, they put themselves in a bad spot because Timothy's driving away with this one yet again.
So just an update. So Kendall LeBron went a lap down there. Chad Ginnixman just passed him. So Chad Ginnixman currently holds that lucky dog if there is a wreck. And so we're just kind of watching this race between Boyles and York because it is the closest one on the track. Timothy Latham has kind of checked out a little bit, so 1.2 seconds or so. So these two guys are the closest on the track. Let's see if anything happens, or if they're just going to keep racing like this, and that's going to allow Latham to just really pull away.
Well, I'm really not sure what happened to Oscar either, because Oscar was up there with Ginnixman, and now he's about 14 seconds behind. So I'm not sure if there was some contact that caused him to lose some time, or if he just got loose. What really went on? So he's kind of falling back. He holds on to the 6th spot, but right now, realistically, not a whole lot of changes. So Dakota Jorgensen, there it is.
Yellow flag.
Changes everything.
Wow. And that is not what Justin Boyles and Timothy Latham wanted to see, and that is their teammate right there. And so that's not good timing.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that, Chad, as Timothy just got one potentially tossed away for him there because he was gone. But one thing that I will say, you talk about Oscar Jensen, you talk about Chad Ginnixman, who are back in this thing now. We saw how close these front 3 raced that run, Sean. It's about to get crazier for this final run.
Oh, and I'll tell you what happened here, and you are not going to believe this, Brandon, but his engine blew. Watch the puff of smoke right about here.
Oh, no.
So his engine blew, and he could not get it back to the pits, and so his car just ended up stuck on the track. He was down on the apron, but when your car stops down there, they have to throw that yellow. And so here we go.
Even if you tow there, you're still on the racing surface, so really tough for Jorgensen, and even more, even tougher, I guess, for Timothy Latham. I'm watching to see if anybody tries to stay out here.
I mean, that's
probably wouldn't be a good call.
Yeah, and everybody come. Actually, Chad Ginnixman's going to stay out, of course, to get his lap back. But yeah, all the leaders coming down pit road. So for the last time in this race, more than likely,
just 1 second here, Sean.
and let's see who gets out of this pit lane first. And here's a really interesting development. Oscar Jensen is the leader right now. Chose not to pit. Oscar Jensen is currently our leader. And then out of the pit road, Danny Dow took 2 tires only, and so he is going to come out in 3rd position. So Tim Hendry in 2nd position. So, man, a lot of strategy going on here. This is absolutely crazy. Cannot wait to see how this all works out. But Oscar Jensen in that beat-up old car, and I'm going to go back to what Robert Montgomery said out in the chat, strategy. And so he's got enough fuel, it looks like. Let's see if he's got the tires for it. But that is one beat-up car right now. Can he stay in front of these guys with brand new tires? I just don't think it's going to happen, Brandon. And so up in 3rd. So here we go. Dan Bowler out there in the chat saying Danny Dow time. So here we go. Danny Dow out in 3rd position with brand new tires. He is the one with the freshest tires and the best track position. Luis Lopez out there saying, oh, dang, Tim Hendry with the upset. Tim Hendry currently slotted in the 2nd position. He is on old tires. And so right now, again, the freshest tires, the one in the catbird seat right now. Actually, the one in the catbird seat is probably Timothy Latham. He has all 4 fresh tires. Danny Dow took 2 right sides is what it looked like to me. And so we'll see how that strategy pays off. I mean, no reason in holding back right now. So got a couple different strategies going on. But the big question is going to be, are Oscar Jensen and Tim Hendry going to be able to hold their lines because of the tires that they have on right now? So good strategy call. However, with the tires that they have, they've got to get around, another, we've got another 8 laps to go once we go back to green. So can they hold on to that line for 8 laps?
Tell you what, Sean, I'm nervous about this call.
I
will say, I remember back to an MSM race. Of course, it was in the Xfinity cars where this was the track. The guys took 2 tires and it worked. So if it's going to work anywhere, this is the opportunity. This is the one shot that you have to try to make this thing work. So you got some company. You're coming to 1 to go. So Tripp and Ted Pullen both going to get out of there. They're not going to be up there. But Oscar's going to be the leader. 2 tires.
Yeah. Out in the chat, Robert Montgomery says, always enjoyable to hear you gentlemen call the race. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. We enjoy calling these races because there's so much action. Even with only 15 cars on the track, there is more action in this race than most races that have 30 to 40 cars on the track because these guys know what they're doing. And it's really fun to see all these cars that know what they're doing all racing so hard just for one goal. And so now we get a chance to find out, does Oscar Jensen have what it takes to hold on for 8 laps?
Yeah, and I want to bounce one back at, and Dana Marie Chambers agreed with Robert Montgomery. I've got to bounce one back at you guys. It's always enjoyable for us to see you guys out there in chat, especially the ones that come every week. I know Luis Lopez, he's been here. Montgomery, you come and hang out with us, Robert, every week. Dana Marie Chambers, you've been here every week pulling for your guys. We thank you guys because if it's not for you guys, we'd be sitting here talking to ourselves. And we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us, which I guess, we could talk to ourselves as well, but you guys make it much more fun that way.
We do talk to ourselves sometimes, but it is much more fun when you have somebody listening.
That it absolutely is. And you guys chose a great time to be here with us because the lights are off. There are 3 cars at the front of this pack on 2 or less tires. Oscar Jensen been out front most of this race, and he finds his way back to the front. Tim Hendry wanting to steal one. Daniel Dow trying to steal one. Timothy trying to win it. Oscar going to take us back to green flag racing. Oscar's gone. No tire spin so far. What can he do? Timothy already into the 2nd spot. He's going to clear both Danny Dow and Tim Hendry and try to chase down Oscar Jensen, we'll see how it works. I think Oscar's a little bit hurt on power and older tires. It's going to be relatively easy for Timothy Latham. Luis Lopez said broadcasters are very knowledgeable. Hats off to you both. I appreciate that, buddy.
Oh, Tim Hendry having some trouble there. Oscar Jensen having some trouble there. We're 3 wide, and everybody's making it through cleanly so far. I think we're okay. I think we're all right.
Yeah, I think we kept that one relatively clean.
Oh, maybe not. There goes Benjamin D.
What a save by the driver of that 97 car. Just new tires, slipping and sliding. Timothy Latham, though, he's not slipping anywhere but out to a big lead. Boyles and York back to where we saw him before the caution, bumper to bumper, going for it.
And both of them with brand new tires. And so this is where Zach York is good on these nice little short runs. And so if he can get around Boyles, he might have a little bit of a shot here. But he is just struck. Oh, no, Chad Gunningsman now.
I was going to say, I want you to look at that car right behind both of them. He got a lucky dog. He started last. He restarted the final car, and he's already up to third. He's trying to make the most of a night that went sour briefly for him. He wants that second place, and he might get it.
Yeah, he is on a roll right now. He is on his way. Not sure if Justin Boyles is going to be able to hold him off as Gunningsman goes down to the inside. He is he's going to get down there underneath him, so I believe Gunningsman is going to take this spot. Let's take a look here really quick at the lap times between Gunningsman and Timothy Latham. And you can see Gunningsman has been better.
Yeah, we get another caution here, and I'd be concerned if I'm Timothy Latham. That 9 car, he came to play.
0.3 of a second faster.
10 laps ago, he was a lap down and out of this thing. Timothy trying to shake that draft, going down to the bottom. Doesn't want Gunningsman to get up there. And, you know, if you're Oscar Jensen, if you're Dustin Boyles, any of these guys back here behind Timothy, you don't want that 9 car to get there because that's a playoff spot signed, sealed, and delivered. But he closed the gap again. This time by, we'll see. Almost 2/10 faster. I think he's going to get there now, whether or not. I will tell you guys, he's not technically a part of Flashpoint Racing. You see, he runs a Ford. He's affiliated with them. He's good friends with those guys. But when it comes down to it, if he needs to use the bumper to race for a championship, will he do it? This time out of 4, Timothy Latham going to be the first driver to cross. Will he make it back?
Oh, here we go. Because he has caught him.
He's going to peek there. What will he do? Will he use the bumper? Will he keep it clean? We've slated him Mr. Clean because he's run a silent season. That doesn't necessarily mean he won't use the bumper to steal one. Timothy trying to shake the draft. Chad going to go drive it in the last shot.
I don't think he's going to get there. Timothy Latham is going to come off the corner. Oh, I don't know. Oh. Through the grass, Timothy Latham will win the race going through the grass to cut off Chad Gunningsman. What an incredible finish. Justin Boyles will take third.
Timothy Latham better be glad that wasn't the taking on Texas 352, because if it was, he was in trouble.
Yeah, that could have been a whole heck of a lot worse for Timothy Latham there. Right there at the end, going down into the grass to block off from Chad Gunningsman. And, of course, his teammate Justin Boyles gets right up next to him to give him a congratulations there. Nice little tap. And so congratulations on back-to-back wins for Timothy Latham. We said earlier in the broadcast the last time that Timothy Latham won Kansas, it was after an 8-race winless streak, and then he went back-to-back-to-back. This time around, he had an 8-race winless streak. He won Kansas last week, and now he's won Texas. Can he do it again in Martinsville to go back-to-back-to-back again?
I think that was a little silly of neither one of us to pick this guy, but I'm not sure. You know, the outcome could have been so much different depending on what happened. But he got it done. We're going to see him burn that Strawberry and Colada Rays energy card to the ground. We heard him last week after that win. He said he was just going out to win it. He's going to pull the spin cycle here, Sean.
Timothy Latham out there in that Rays energy car where he changes the flavor just about every week, but it doesn't matter what flavor he has, he seems to be up front most of the time.
Well, I do want to reference what Robert Montgomery just said in the chat, Sean. He said, "Congratulations, Tim. Well done. We have a hot rod for Martinsville, so we'll see you next week." Of course, referencing his driver, Oscar Jensen, who had pretty well control of most of this race here. But they've got a hot rod, Sean. They're going to make it interesting at Martinsville.
So Timothy Latham burning it down there on the track. So let's pull up the results. Let's see how we're looking here. So Timothy Latham comes in first place. Chad Gunningsman barely right off the lead. Justin Boyles in third. Zach York in fourth.
Fifth place going to be Greg Edney. Sixth place, Daniel Dow. Seventh is Oscar Jensen. Eighth place, Tim Hendry.
Benjamin D is in ninth. Ted Pullen in 10th. Jason Tripp in 11th. Kendall Levron in 12th.
Dakota Jorgensen 13th. Jordan Sailors 14th. PJ Engelkins 15th. And hey, Brandon Browning had himself a good finish. He brought it home 16th, only 235 laps down.
All right, let's see if we can get some interviews going here. See if we can get our third place finisher, Justin Boyles, to come up into the broadcast booth and kind of get his thoughts on where he finished tonight. So, Justin, this is Sean and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, man. How's it going, guys?
Doing good. Great race. You know, the first part of that race, we didn't really see that you had the car that you wanted. What adjustments did you make to get this third place finish?
I just couldn't rotate 1 and 2, so just kind of had to free up the car, and then it kind of got a little too free, and I really wound up with the exact same thing by the end of it, and I just kind of had to adjust how I was driving 1 and 2. I was just wasn't able to get to the bottom, get it to rotate. So, but once I figured that out, it helped out big time, and made a mistake trying to get on pit road again in stage 1 for the second week in a row. So that kind of stinks, but we recovered from tonight pretty good.
Well, first and foremost, buddy, I want to congratulate you on a third place finish. And second, I want to say I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better. I know you sounded flat awful last week at Kansas, and I know you haven't been feeling good for a few weeks, but you made up some ground, obviously, with a third place finish on some of these guys. What's your game plan for Martinsville and trying to make that final round?
Yeah, about to get ready to do points and everything, and see what everything's looking. I would like to get some more stage points tonight, especially because Zach was. I mean, he was flawless in the first 2 stages as far as maximizing points, and Chad being at the cut line got a lot of points. But I don't know. We just have to look at the point situation. I was hoping to not go into Martinsville counting points, but just didn't quite have enough to make it happen tonight. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if we're in a point situation, we're just I just have to keep in my head, where everything's at, and try to make sure we get the most out of the stages and be there at the end and hopefully have a good finish. But it's Martinsville, so it might as well be Talladega.
Well, yeah, I mean, so your strategy for Martinsville obviously is to win the thing, but is this going to be one of those things where you kind of play it by ear, just depending on how the other guys are in there? Are you just trying to make it into the next round, or is this something that you're going to go full send?
Well, I mean, pretty much this is my championship race, in Martinsville, because if I don't get through to the next one, it doesn't matter what happens. So just, really just got to, full send, I guess. I mean, I don't know who's going to win it. If Dakota reaches up and wins next week, I mean, the points really don't matter for me. That would probably boot me out. So just, I don't know. Well, I'll definitely pay attention to the guys around me on the cut line. And if, a few of those guys have big issues and then maybe don't have to push too hard, but we'll just have to see. Just the goal every week is to win. So hopefully we can do it next week.
Oh, man, I mean, you've put together a heck of a league here. So exciting here at the finish, because it's really, even though Timothy has won a lot of these races, it's really anybody's race. It's really anybody's championship. So congratulations on putting together such a phenomenal finish for this playoff. And, man, I know you and I have talked a lot about next season. We won't spill the beans right here. But, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys do next year, too.
Yeah, man, it's not you guys either. It's we, man, because you're going to be a big part of that. So, and Brandon as well going to be up in the booth for us. So, hopefully we'll be able to make a big announcement this week, man. That's the goal. So we'll see. But yeah, man, I appreciate it, and I'm glad that we're having these great finishes here, and it's going to be a great battle to the championship next Friday. So we'll see what happens.
All right, buddy. We'll let you get back down to your team. Congratulations on a third place finish. We'll see you next week at Martinsville.
Congratulations, buddy.
All right, man. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, let's see if we can't get Chad Genningsman up here and figure out what was going through his mind there on that very, very last turn. So, Chad, this is Sean and Brandon up in the booth, man. How's it going?
Good. How about you guys?
Doing good, man. We really enjoyed those last few turns. We were counting down the tenths of a second until you caught up to Timothy Latham. Take us through that last turn. I know you were right there on his back bumper. What happened there?
I think I backed it up big in 1 and 2, hoping Tim would overdrive it. Didn't really expect that to happen because Tim's probably the best driver out here, but just tried to lay back and get a huge run down the backstretch in 3 and 4, which ended up happening. And then I think Tim was mirror watching a little bit and caught the apron. And then I tried to go inside, but he was ready to cover, and I think hitting the apron kind of helped him. Maybe not even intentionally cover the bottom, but put a nice clean block on before I got there.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the second place, buddy. Second of all, I want to correct what I said earlier in the broadcast. I said that you didn't have a win, and I discredited the one that you took in Indianapolis. I totally misread the screen that we have up now. But, nonetheless, congratulations on a second here. Obviously going to carry you with momentum and to try to make that final round. What do you feel that you have at Martinsville next week to try to make it to Phoenix for that Final Four?
I'm hoping we finish with a clean car. Martinsville is not my favorite track, so I'm hoping just to put laps together and do what we need to do to make it on. Maybe compete for a win. We'll see what happens. Martinsville can kind of be like Talladega or Daytona, where it can be anybody's race once the fenders start getting beat up. But yeah, just going to try to keep the car clean, do what we need to do to advance and have a chance at the championship.
Well, yeah, man. So we were looking at the points, and of course we don't have the new points out there yet. But I know you were just above the cut line coming into this race, and so it's still going to be pretty close there. So what is it? I asked Justin the same question. Are you going to be looking to see where all these people are on the track at all times, or is this something that you focus on the one race and just try to win that race?
I don't think you can worry about what's going on track. I think if you're looking in your mirror at your relative at Martinsville, you're probably going to be hitting walls or getting run over. So I think it's just a matter of running your own race, not overdriving your car, and basically just driving the racetrack. And maybe at the end, if you can do a little something to play strategy or be a little risky once you got some points banked from the first 2 stages, you might be able to do something. But I think it's more of just racing your own race. And if you think you have the winning car, then you race for the win.
Good deal, man. Well, one more question really quick. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier. So you changed car colors. And I know this is kind of a weird question, but you changed car colors from kind of a maroon to this bright red. Any reason for that change, or is that just kind of your lucky color?
Well, the original one wasn't supposed to be maroon. It looked a lot better in the day, so had to get a new one for the night tracks. It just was too dark of a shade for night races, but yeah, this one looks pretty sporty. Got to thank us in Derbyshire for painting this one up for me.
Yeah, man, they did a good job. They did a good job. So anybody else you want to thank before we send you back down?
Yeah, I want to thank Boyd Hoke and everybody at Legacy Esports for probably building the best car here tonight. I made a lot of mistakes with trying to go through the grass to pass Oscar or speeding on pit road or pitting from the lead and nobody else came. So just want to thank them for building the car that probably should have won, but definitely carried me through those last 10 laps when I was splitting the field and getting up to Tim's bumper at the end.
All right, man. Well, we'll drop you back down there. Congratulations once again on a second place finish. We'll see you next week at Martinsville.
Yes.
All right. So, Brandon, one more to go here, and it is the man of the hour, Timothy Latham, who just, again, not an overly dominant one this time around. However, he is always there at the finish line. He is always there for when it needs to happen. So, Timothy, welcome back to the broadcast booth once again this week. Congratulations on your win.
I appreciate it. I really didn't expect that to happen, honestly. I know Oscar had a really fast car all night. Like I said earlier, man, clean air. That was the biggest thing. When you're out front after the tires wear out, you can stay out front. And, we were 3 wide there on the back stretch. He made the block. Things happen. Glad to be in victory lane, but don't want to win them that way. But we were fast all night, so I feel like we would have had a shot anyway.
Well, I asked the last 2 guys up here a little bit of a different question. So I have a 2-part, or a question and a statement to hand to you. Mine's a little bit different for you, though. We got the car on the screen right now, man. There's checkered flags all over that thing. Where are you going to put this one at on that car?
Where the 8 checkered flags are, I'm going to put it right below that 8th one.
He's going to run out of room on the race car by the end of this thing. Luckily, there's only 2 more races, so if he wins them both, still got a little bit of room to give. But the next part is the statement. Robert Montgomery, first of all, said congratulations on the win. Well done. He did want to pass on word that they have a hot rod for that 51 Oscar Jensen from Martinsville, so he said he'll see you next week.
Yeah, actually, I did see that in chat. So I hope to see him next week. I hope, again, we're battling 1-2. It's a lot of fun battling with Oscar. And to go back to your win statement there, nobody can top me now.
Yeah.
They can only tie me. If Oscar gets 2 more wins, he could tie me. I hope he doesn't win at Phoenix.
So with that being said, not to cut you off there, Sean said the same thing, and I even said at one point, we were talking about, maybe Boyle's getting the win or something. I told, Sean said, nobody can tie him. I knew the whole entire race that was on your mind. It's not one of those things that you focus on too much, but it's things like that that really drive you. And, that's what leads to my respect for you as far as getting it done, man.
Yeah, it's always in the back of your head, but, like you said, you can't just focus on that. You got to focus on one lap at a time. And, we were making mistakes earlier in the run, and we had to make adjustments to counteract those. And we kind of got it dialed in there in the second stage, but Oscar seemed to get a little bit faster that second stage too. I think once we got to that third stage, we were about equal, and Chad was creeping up there, and we were all battling, all 3 of us, and I think we were pretty much equal. And like I said, with that incident on the backstretch, caution came out. We had to restart, and things happened. But man, I just really want to thank this team, Race Tech Esports. They've done a hell of a job building these cars, and I hope we have a really good car from Martinsville. I think we put a lot of time and effort into it, so we should be good there too.
All right, so last week you won with the grape bubblegum. Now you've won with the strawberry colada. Tell us what's next week. What do we got?
Voodoo.
Well, since it is Halloween weekend, we're going with the voodoo paint scheme next week.
I love it. Definitely. And for those of you out there that don't know what we're talking about here, so Raise Energy Drinks, they are a main sponsor for Timothy Latham. So go to their website and type in Temptation. That is TIMTATION, and you'll get 15% off your order of Raise Energy Drinks.
Make sure you tune in next week as well. Even if you don't watch the race, tune in to see that voodoo car. Tim and I have talked, and I figured that's the car that he would run. My favorite personal Raise Energy car that Tim runs. So it's going to be a beautiful one. Again, as Sean said, make sure you use code TEMPTATION to save you a little bit on your purchase.
All right, Tim, anybody else you want to thank before we let you get back to celebrating?
Yeah, I want to shout out, obviously, again, every week you guys for putting us on. I want to shout out to my team for finishing 1, 2, 3 yet again, second week in a row. Would have loved to have had Dakota up here. I know he's in a must-win situation next week, so hopefully we can get all 4 of us in the championship. I know Oscar's still up there in points, so we got a little bit of work to do, but I feel like we can get it done.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll drop it back down there with your team. Congratulations once again, and we'll see if you can make it a second three-peat next week at Martinsville.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. So let's talk about next week really quick. So, tell me what you know about Martinsville.
Well, apparently, after listening to both Boyles and Gettingsman, I know nothing about Martinsville. They both compared it to Talladega. So we'll go off of the fact of that. I know Chad kind of alluded on it. Once you start, beating and banging at Martinsville, start pushing fenders in, which is really easy to do. Anybody can win this thing. We can see much like we saw tonight. Obviously, a mile and a half, we saw some beating and banging. I can just about guarantee you, Sean, and everybody watching at home, we're going to see beating and banging next week. These guys are going to drive the doors off of the thing, the fenders, the tires, all of it. It's their last shot. Martinsville Mayhem 300, Friday, October 30th, the Halloween race. So hopefully we'll have plenty of Halloween paint schemes. But, Sean, it's going to be a good one. Very short track where we've seen Zach York find much of his success, actually all of his success. Again, 1 mile, half a mile, both of his wins. So anything could happen. 8 playoff drivers trying to squeeze 3 more spots, really, because Tim's locked in. So I guess 7 trying to squeeze 3 spots. But it'll be interesting.
All right, well, we'll take a look and see what happens next week. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you being here. We will see you all next week at playoff week number 9, the round of 8. Here we go, Martinsville Mayhem 300. So for myself, Sean Griffith, and for my broadcast partner, Brandon Superman Brand Browning, everybody have a pleasant evening. We will see you next week, same time, for Mayhem at Martinsville.